whether or not I connected things together. The moment where Chatfish also discover this truth, because they too will understand in time that they are round and spherical in nature. Yes, quite. Ah, I appear we are live, yes? No? Yeah, maybe?
See,
Perfect.
maybe.
Hello and welcome, Chatfish. Welcome to another stream. Today we'll be talking about the real-time strategy games in general. It'll be a real-time strategy podcast, actually. Sort of, pseudo, elementary, of course. But yeah, the real-time strategy fest is ongoing from January 27th. Or from now to January 27th. I'm like looking at the calendar, I'm like, what? It's not the 27th, that's a 1. That's a 1. So yeah, you've got 6 days. We're gonna pin a list of my recommended games for the real-time strategy games on to the comment section of this stream. So it'll be there. But I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna talk about real-time strategy games, and we'll try some of the upcoming demos in the last part of the stream, because there is some that are interesting, like Tempest Rising. And I'm sure there are others, as well as the Stronghold Definitive Edition for Crusader. But, you know, it's more or less just Stronghold again. But it is what it is. Okay, I like how the trailers didn't load. Good, because I don't care. Now, the first things first, we're going to go to basically, I don't know if this is like necessarily top sellers or just like games at the top in general, but we'll go through this real quickly because there's a lot of great games already just looking at this at the first page. So, Total War Attila, just for the fact of it being on sale for $11.24, I do recommend. Now, a little bit about this game, because I will open them up and talk about each one briefly. Total War Attila is basically another Total War game set in the migratory period. It is a game in which you can play as, you know, the rest of the Roman Empire, the East Roman Empire, or one of the barbarian tribes that migrate around and set up like little kingdoms. It's got some cool expansions. It's very gritty. It's very dark feeling as a game. And I overall just like the aesthetic of it. It introduces the idea that cities can burn and that there are civilians and stuff. And there's even some mechanics for certain factions like the Geats or the Utes or the Danes. I don't remember which one, but where they literally get more money for every person they kill as well as every building they burn down, which is kind of like a cool sort of like feature or idea. The game's got also a plethora of mods that make it really cool. There's a Lord of the Rings mod overhaul that's being developed for a very long time. The battles are functional for it, but its campaign map I don't think is done. There is a massive 1212 AD mod, which basically converts it into a medieval Total War, and that is a massive undertaking. So its mods and its modding community is actually really strong. It's also where a lot of the modders stopped moving forward in the Total War timeline and stopped here. And they didn't follow Three Kingdoms because Three Kingdoms is a bit more stylistic. We'll talk about that one later. But yeah, no, it's for $11. It's worth picking up. Now, as for its DLC, we do need to talk about it. The Blood and Gore, of course, they didn't bother to DLC that, you know, or reduce the cost or hell even make it free. Creative Assembly is greedy as fuck. These nation packs aren't the most interesting. The most interesting is like the Charlemagne stuff. Unless there's a particular reason you want to try one of these nation packs. I think Empire, Sands, and Culture was one of the better ones. I don't know why. I thought I heard myself echoing for a second. I got a little paranoid. Oh, it's fucking you talking, fucking A. I was like, well, Jesus Christ. This is the...
Was a trailer running?
Yeah, fucking... You know, the last Roman Empire, or last Roman campaign was a cool, sort of very thematic campaign. It doesn't have a lot of replay value. Mostly because the only faction that's worth playing is the last Romans. The other ones you can play as, but they don't have as much interest. And that's because in that campaign, you play as one of the generals of Justinian, Belisarius. And basically your goal is to reclaim the fallen West Empire and restore it. Or they added an alternate history option where you can secede from Justinian's vision and reform your own Roman Empire and your own vision, which was a really cool idea that experimented with that concept, and then they did fucking nothing with it. Like, there's a lot of really cool features in this game that they do, like, experimental, that they never do anything with. Like, Age of Charlemagne, you can form kingdoms, and that's why Age of Charlemagne is one of the better expansions in this, even though it doesn't actually include the entire map, which is kind of annoying, because it's mostly just focused on the Charlemagne area and the Civil War. But what's interesting about that is that allows you to basically form like Britain, or you can form like proto-kingdoms. And it's just a cool idea because it introduces the concept that there's like a mid to late game focus, like of actually building up a nation, which is really cool. All right, let's read some memberships now that I've gotten through my main bulk conversation. So Wolfenbach has been a member for 26 months and says, let's go. Hope everyone has been well, and Kibbs has been keeping the bucket fishies in line. Thank you for your long-term support. I've been doing my best. We've been doing our best. The only thing I got to keep in mind is the artists, so we can keep on track. I've assigned Sala to assisting with our current bottleneck. As many of you know, there is a lot of art pieces for series that Chat had funded almost a year ago that have not been done. And so I've assigned Sala to assist with this because we got to get this ball moving.
Get a move on, little salad man.
So yes, the one of the most older series, the Rogue Squadron series, is coming first, and then he'll be basically picking up the slack in areas where things are missing. Grumpy Rat's been a member for 21 months. Thank you for the long-term support. Couldn't do it without you, little Grumpster. It's almost 2 years now. Been quite the ride. Hashtag Rapier's Choice. Thank you for the support, and that goes to Rapier. Thank you for your support, Grumpy. We couldn't be here without you. That goes for you too, Wolfenbach.
Yeah, I will. 2 things quickly, Gibbs.
I need
You're not streaming to Discord, and if this is more of a podcast, should you have music?
Oh yeah, I should. I was gonna do that, but I was already kind of late today, so I just wanted to start so I could get this ball moving. All right, let's see. Discord and stream my screen.
Get your balls.
Wow. There we go. But yeah.
Okay, so for Attilla, I should write down lukewarm for DLCs, but recommended the game as a whole.
Yep. The DLCs are a bit of a mix and match. Only the major campaign overhaul ones, or the ones that add specifically large things. Like the only faction pack that was actually really interesting was the Empires of Sand. The Slavic one was literally just expansion that added factions in the least interesting part of the map, which is basically the Slavic region where everyone is migrating from because the fertility mechanic, I don't know. It's one of those things. Like the one thing I like about Attila and Three Kingdoms is they have like overall narratives, and the narratives help structure the campaign so that it has an actual focus. So that's what really helps Attila stand out a bit more. Now, the next Total War or strategy game we're going to move towards is Dune Spice Wars. I'm going to talk about pretty much all the ones I've played briefly. If I haven't played, I'm just going to kind of move past it, mostly because I don't have experience. Dune Spice Wars is the game I don't recommend. And the reason why I don't recommend this game is entirely down to the fact that I forgot to start the music. That's what I forgot to do. That's why I don't recommend it. Oh my goodness. So, all right, so let's turn on that music, that background music, so we get some background beats to vibe and chill to, chat. Chat's like, wow.
I can have things I can say about Dune Spice Wars because I played it a decent bit.
Okay, well, first let me finish
enough for
my stuff, and then you can say your stuff. Because me go first. Me started first. But Dune Spice Wars, it started off strong, it started off interesting, but it didn't really develop its combat systems. Well, is it an interesting 4X sort of board game style of a strategy game? What it severely lacked was the ability to expand its combat systems, or one of its crux issues, because I have 32 hours in, which is nothing to sneeze at for a game. It means that you enjoyed enough that you're playing the gameplay loop multiple times for this game. The big problem is that they specifically didn't, like, they did a DLC, and that DLC was slightly more accurate to the lore, but they started pissing all over the lore, and that was the big thing. As somebody who's a big fan of Frank Herbert's Dune, when they started, like, changing the genders of random characters and stuff like that, and moving things around for diversity points and racial points, and they did that in the beginning as well, by making one of the Emperor's fucking dudes a black woman, which is weird. It's like, why? Like, if you want to make a new character, make a new character, but like, that's just stupid. Like, it's not how that works. I don't know. So the lack of respect for the lore, a lack of respect for the fandom, a lack of respect for the players led to basically me kind of ultimately shifting away from a game that I actually really enjoyed initially, which is kind of a shame. Now go ahead, Chumba.
Bread.
Before that, Semper Tantrum donates $50 on Streamlabs.
Sing.
Could make it today. Put me on the Killzone thumbnail and up on screen. Sandwich sour sauce. I think it's supposed to be sour.
Can you get the thumbnail while I get the sandwich and
Yep.
And I'll get him on the don't worry, guys. I got his avatar. Don't worry.
The one thing you're able to do, yeah.
The one thing you're able to do.
Thanks, Kib.
Don't worry, guys. I got you.
Fuck.
Like, thank you, Kib. You're so helpful. You're welcome.
Also, did you allocate your donations? The donation, Rapier?
A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
that spells Palu for you and me. There we go. Little chatfish be wiggling.
So, for my take on Dune Spice Wars, pretty much what you're saying, more or less agree with, that they kind of started pissing over the setting. But, like, the thing that does the vast majority of carrying for this game is literally the setting. The
Yep.
combat feels bare bones. It tries to do a rock paper scissors system that doesn't quite work that well. Combat is very slow and tedious. The game itself just is slow, just really slow, and it just doesn't really feel good. The spy mechanic system feels bare bones. All of its mechanics have neat ideas behind them, but they aren't ever built on, and it's just kind of like stopped halfway through development, it feels like. They did end up adding a conquest mode, which sounded neat at first, but ultimately just turns into skirmish maps, but with random modifier thrown on top of it.
Loosely tied together by, yeah. It's like the Dawn of War syndrome, but Dawn of War did it better. Because Dawn of War Dark
Yeah.
Crusade had that same idea, but it actually did a lot more with it. And like
It
your
actually is
commanders
better.
level up and stuff like that, and you get like a vanguard and you build up territories and stuff.
So, if you really, really like Dune, just like the general setting, aesthetic, and whatnot, you can get some enjoyment out of the game. But I found, after playing it for so long, I was trying to convince myself I was enjoying the game because it was Dune.
The thing is, I really enjoyed the slow pacing of it and like the whole like building up economies and like having different mechanics and sub mechanics and like that. That was really cool. But I think my biggest problem is that it ultimately just didn't want to expand its combat system because the combat needed to be overhauled. And while it is got aspects that were charming, it was fundamentally undermined by the development of an addition to things that just really broke the continuity of the setting. And because they kept breaking the continuity of the setting and stuff like that and didn't mind doing that, it's why people lost interest. So even when they did the House of X like expansion where they added the X for a ludicrous amount of money, by the way, $12.99, which is still too much in my opinion, and discounted only 25%, which is just rancid. Like it's like, okay, you added a house, right? And then I think they've more or less, like they're still patching this, and I think they might still do more stuff with this. I don't know, but it's just it sort of broke me because like I don't trust the studio anymore, which is a shame because Hero
No.
Games had a relatively positive reputation before this, but then the betrayal, the constant shifting of like and adding wokeification to a setting because for political sake is just aged the game even worse, especially as time is going marched forward now 2 years later. People are going to look back at this and be like, why did you do that? You know, the age of, you know, pandering is coming to a close. It's coming to...
Yeah. Well, I'll also say this about Shiro games in general. So their big thing is Northgard, and they also did War Tales, which I know Reguline has very negative opinions on. But
Bad.
so Northgard is like their big claim to fame, like really got them off the map, like on the map, I should say. That's because it's kind of mechanically feels like novel and stuff, but it has the same issues of just like you end up sitting there doing nothing for a while and doing like it's got the same pitfalls that Dune has mechanically, only Dune makes all of those issues worse.
Mhm.
And Northgard is even worse because they were probably playing the same thing for Northgard for Dune that they did with Northgard, which is just like a shit ton of DLC, which is just single like clan or single new faction. And it's like, look at the new mechanics that you can only get with this faction.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this one is not one I particularly recommend, sadly. And it could have been more.
If you can get it on a very steep sale and you're a big fan of Dune, that's the only way I'd say maybe pick it up. Like when I say big, I mean like $10.
I wouldn't even recommend it then. But let's see. Next up, we have Company Heroes 2. Now, this is one that actually will be recommended because $5 fucking for this. And Company Heroes 2 is basically like one of the better ones. because Company of 3 sucks ass. Let's not even talk about it. Ugh. But yeah, Company of 3. Plus, it's British faction for $3, not too bad, and the Americans, I think, as well, for $5. So basically, it's $15 about for the stuff you need, I think, to get the Americans and stuff. There's some pretty good mods. This is a great game to... The campaign's alright, it's fun, but it's a great game to just brawl with friends in multiplayer, and sort of like casual games, or just doing comp stomps on the hardest difficulty. Like, holy shit. It's intense, the combat's cool. This game is basically Company of Heroes at its peak, and it has a lot going for it. It's just, it's all around fun. It's derpy. It's got some good action to it. The combat sounds good. It's violent. It's visceral. This is basically Relic's last good strategy game. Crazy Templar, we're going through the list one by one. You shut the fuck up, you. He's like, what about the other game? We'll get there.
Why?
We're gonna get there in time. We got a lot to go through.
What about the
So,
one I
moving
like?
on. This is a game I do recommend completely. Now, I like how they credited Feral Interactive here, which is weird. Feral Interactive ported this game to mobile. Yes, it is on mobile. I know that's weird, but yeah. It's just weird that they credit them with a PC game. Strange. But yeah. Company Heroes 2 was definitely pretty goddamn strong. There's a solid campaign, and it's just solid skirmishes in general. It's mostly focused on squad-based combat and action like that.
Damn it.
Did you donate more than you went to?
Yes, I did. Oh well.
Listen, we can refund you. We can take care of that later.
I clicked on 50 and it went to 200.
Oh my god! All right, remind me after streaming. We'll give you 150 back. You stupid fuck. Remember, I lose a little money when you do that, you little chuckle fuck.
A little bit. You
Well,
lose quite a bit, actually.
Yeah.
Don't bother.
No, don't you dare. We'll take care of it after stream. Now, thank you for your donation regardless. You dummy. Oh my god.
You're not even drunk.
Technically, I don't offer refunds, chat. I'm only doing it to Chumba because he's my friend, okay? So, because
I even typed in 50. Why did it go to 200 when I clicked send?
God damn it.
Halo community event. Starting that fund.
Make sure you click very carefully when you choose what you donate, chat.
It didn't even like ask me to confirm. It was like, "Yep, taking it."
We'll square that after stream. All right, so where were we? But yeah, Company Heroes 2, it's solid. It's got a great sort of aesthetic to it. It's like a classic World War II strategy game, and it's one of the best modern-ish World War II strategy games, because World War II kind of has fallen out of popularity, and so there aren't a lot of companies that make World War II themed games anymore because they were so overdone. But if you're looking for one, this one's actually pretty good. This one is worth picking up. And its expansions they offer stuff, but they should be investigated. Whether they add factions is the most important part. If they don't add factions, it's not worth picking. I have 142 goddamn hours in this fucking game. Holy shit. I forgot how much I played it with my friends. But yeah, we played this a lot. Jesus Christ.
Okay, now moving to next game. To read some memberships. Green Branch has been a member for 36 months, 3 years now. Seems like years from the good old waffle of Dawn of War 2 good time. Reaper's Choice. Also, Shadow Foxton has been a member for 67 months. Kibbles, there's too many dead studios to make this one. Make this one stream.
Actually, there isn't. There's actually a lot of studios that make RTSs, and some of them are actually good. I'm actually looking at a new RTS studio that has only made really one game, but has done a goddamn good job with it. Keep going. Go ahead. Anything else to read?
That was it.
What about Chumba?
Okay, I'll read his donation too. Can't let Cookie fall too behind. Also, to kick off Halo SF Cookie Halo community event thumbnail. Dumbass.
That's funny. All right, so moving on. Empires of the Undergrowth is a RTS made by Slug Disco, and it's actually pretty good. It looks kind of like Dungeon Keeper, and that's because it basically is Ant Dungeon Keeper. It's pretty fun. It's not entirely accurate to what ants are, but it is fairly educational about different breeds of ants. The overall campaign is like you play as a multitude of species merged into one, which is crazy, but you know, because that doesn't actually work that way. But yeah, no, it's actually pretty fun. It's like a sort of a dungeon keeper ant-based game, and it's surprisingly good, like very good. It's one of the best, more modern RTSs out there. Only finally launched in 2024. It's been in early access for like a darn near like 8 years or whatever. But that's the life of an indie, right? It takes time to get these things out, but it was definitely something that I think developed into something really good. It's worth picking up. It's a fun game, and it's also only $14.99. Again, another good RTS.
You have another donation from Janos. He says, for 25 PLNs, Rapier addicted to donuts like Kib to Cokie Coli, Silly Willy, SF, Sandwich, Darksiders Chew.
And thank you for the donation. Very generous. But yeah, Members of Undergrowth, there's not much more to say than that, other than it's good. I'm only going to stick to games I have played or have experience in, and talking about them. Because that is generally the theme of this.
Right out.
There is some upcoming ones I'm quite interested
You recommend it, right?
Yep, recommended.
Okay, good.
Don't write down things I don't recommend. There's no point putting them on that list.
Well, I was putting games specifically you don't recommend because you don't want them to buy it, right?
Well, they can decide for themselves. That's my thought. My recommended list is for recommended games that I recommend are worth picking up.
Okay,
Nobody needs to
remove
because some people might disagree with this
thing
list.
Altogether. Then
you mean the don't recommend thing, right?
Because I had a little thing written out.
All right, moving on.
Not recommended.
So, Gothic Armada 2. I don't recommend this game, but it is only $4. So if you're super big into 40k, it might be worth picking up. It's got a chaos campaign. The big reason why I don't recommend this game is because it gets incredibly samey. Well, initially, like after the first 2 games, it looks fun and it feels kind of fun. The problem I have with this game is that it actually would have been better if it was turn-based. And because it's real time and they have the slow-mo thing, like it just kind of, I don't know, it just didn't really catch me. I know some people really like this game, and I really wanted to love this game, but like, it made me realize that 40k space battles are dumb. I don't like it. I just don't like it. It comes down to the fact that I think it's too slow for me.
But Kib, 40k ships.
So the problem with it was actually a problem in the first game, but it's just worse in the second because you actually can get a bit bigger fleets in some cases in the second game. Is micro in these games sucks. It just sucks trying to control more than like a handful of ships.
You have to play slow-mo all the time, and it's really annoying because the game wasn't designed for you to have big armadas, and so the game just shits itself. And so you have to play in slow-mo to micro things well. And if you get like really into the game, it's fine, but it also feels kind of, I don't know. It feels like on the surface it looks very high quality, but when you play it, it feels very low quality. I don't know how to describe it. Like visually, the artistic design and model work is really good, but the overall gameplay is incredibly shallow. So much so that I would say that you're better between 2 of the more simple RTSs in space, Empire at War or Battlefleet Gothic. Empire at War, in my opinion, dominates, which is funny because it's far more simplistic, but it also has a better understanding of what is fun in a game than what this game does. And I think the big problem with this one is it turns a lot into cat and mouse in a lot of missions, and it just becomes kind of fucking annoying. I don't know. I could never get into it, but it's worth mentioning because it is only $4, and so if you are curious to try it, it's only a $4 cost of entry. This is the reason why I want to talk about games that even I don't recommend.
If you like 40k and you like the first game, you'll definitely get your money's worth.
If you like the first game, this is a game you should try because the second game, if I remember right, is just better than the first game. First game was worse, in my opinion.
Campaign wise, I have mixed feelings on because when you get to like mid and late game, it gets really goddamn tedious. In Gothic 2.
Yeah. See, because this was so similar to Gothic 1, I only have 4 hours in this because it's more or less like if you didn't like the first one, it's more or less just a polished version of the first one is what I would say.
Yeah.
Because it lost me relatively quickly because I was playing this and I was like, I don't want to play this anymore. I know where this game's going and I've already been down this road. Unexpected's been a member for 23 months. It says, "Hey Keeb, gee, almost 2 years. Will mostly lurk. Just got it confirmed. My mom has skin cancer. Yikes. That's not good.
Yeah.
So I'm emptying the bank account for other things now. That's unfortunate, my dude. And hopefully you guys caught it early, or
Yeah, hopefully.
just be there for your mother, be supportive. It's very important that family members and relatives are always supporting and caring, And if that means you'll be by here less, don't worry about it. We'll always be here for you as well, because that's a lot of stress to go through. If you ever need to talk with the boys, you're also welcome in the Discord. Vent some stress. It's okay. But just hang in there, buddy. I'm sorry to hear. That sucks.
Actually,
But
fuck it. You don't need to reimburse me.
you sure? Chumba, if you change your
Yeah.
mind later today, you can change your mind all the way until tonight, okay?
No, I'll just allocate, because I was planning on... I'd end up spending that much over the week anyways. We'll try not to donate the rest of the week.
Yeah, just
All right.
chill it on the donos.
Yeah, I'll allocate the rest of that and do different funds, because that was
Oh.
my intention anyways.
I was editing it. I was fully editing it to Cookie.
Well, yes, Cookie in the current, obviously. And
You guys are
Skirt
so, I see Cookies trying to have its revenge this year.
but trying. We will.
But yeah, just remember, Unexpected, that, no matter how tough things are, you're not alone, buddy. That's an important thing, because that's never easy.
Yeah, I'll finish off a couple funds with that.
And later, when you get a chance, Unexpected, shoot me a DM and I'll send you something. All right, so Harlot gives a membership. Thank you for the gifted membership. Very generous. Really
Harlan has
appreciate
also gifted TLM. Dalton Acosta donates $5. Hail Aerith, Keeper of the Bell. Hail Sumerian, Ringer of Aerith's Bell.
it. Okay, thank you for the donation. Really appreciate it. You little weirdo. He's like, no. But yeah, so it's not a game I can fully recommend, but it's a game I want to talk about because if I have experience in it, I can mention my thoughts. But it is only $4, and if you like 40k things, I think the paint job alone is enough to carry it because the model work and the visual effects are really good. Even though the gameplay I just couldn't get into. The next game we have to talk about is another game I have experience with, which is Creeper World 4. I'm going to focus to the... By the way, if you've got experience playing any of these strategy games that I'm pulling up, that I don't, you can talk about them as well. Creeper World 4 is a fucking adorable game made by an indie called Knucklecracker. He is a old geezer, yes, I know, but he's made the Creeper World series, and it's originally a web browser strategy game. It's a really simple game. Creeper World 4 is not necessarily the best one to get into. It's worth picking up because it's the 3D idea of Creeper World is really cool. It's a logistics tower defense game in which you basically have to manage like energy farms and basically build turrets to keep back a liquid from basically overrunning you. Basically, it's imagine a Grey Goo scenario. That's what Creeper World is as a video game. It's you fighting against a Grey Goo scenario and basically trying to beat back the Grey Goo. That's the closest I can describe that. And the Grey Goo in this case is Creeper, which is this blue liquid that will send tidal waves and wash over you. It's a very cool game idea and a very cool mechanic, and it's really cool with its general things. A very novel concept, and for the humble asking of $10 dues, that's not a terrible ask.
It's worth it. I would also say, at least to me, I've always liked the soundtracks for the Creeper World games.
They're kind of chill, and you kind of just vibe in them.
They're
very
kind of chill.
relaxing.
Like they build up like hype, like you're fighting up against this unstoppable wave kind of thing, which you are.
I think Creeper World 3 still is the best one, at least narratively.
It is definitely narratively. 4 was just basically trying to take the 2D game into a 3D space, and it kind of worked, but it's very clunky, and some things didn't convert well to 3D.
That's why it's slightly
as a
easier
concept-
in 3D than it is in 2D.
Oh, yes. But like, it's neat. It is a fun little game. Ultimately, all of the Creeper World games, though, boil down to basically the first 10 minutes is what will determine if you win or lose the map.
Yep, because as soon as you stabilize, you pretty much... you have it. It's just how slow is the grind forward going to be.
Yes, Creeper World X is the new one that they're making, and that's going back to a 2D side-scroller one like Creeper World 2 was.
I don't have experience playing it, so I can't comment. But we'll
That's a
keep
demo.
going through the list. Yes, there are new Creeper Worlds. The newest one that the guy made, and he's an indie, is X, and it's more in theme with the side-scroller games, which is what originally started the Creeper World series. I've always been more of a fan of the top-down, sort of like base building ones, but the other one's more about like ship management, I guess. It's a cool idea. What did I see somebody say there was a dono I missed? I don't think so.
Yeah, I just read Dalton's donation.
Okay, we're
And
caught
I'll
up.
put the last 50 to XCon too.
Mm-hmm. Creeper World's worth picking up. Empire Defender Edition. No. The Creeper World is one I recommend, by the way. You write that down, Skittles.
It did.
This one's going to be hard for me. So Empire Total War is a game I would not recommend, except it's hard. It's hard because I don't technically like this game. But at the same time, there is actual value in it. It is a game you can enjoy. It's hard. Empire Total War is one that I have a lot of mixed feelings on. It's a game you could enjoy if you like the setting and if you're willing to mod it for the most part. Yeah, if you mod it, basically. This one's tricky. The biggest problem is that it was never finished. The city battles are abysmal, and like they tried to go for such a grand scope, it just didn't quite hit well. But it's only $6.24 to try it. And they did finally patch in the multiplayer campaigns, so you can try the multiplayer campaign stuff. But honestly, you're better off playing the Empire 2.0 mod overhaul. While it does make the game less stable, it does at least allow you to play a slightly better campaign. But the AI is just bad. Like, the AI is just bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. Oh, it's a hard one.
All right. That's the 200 allocated.
So you've written down recommended,
Yes.
right, for a lot of these games?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if there's another word I can use.
Oh, I just put the asterisk modded to it. That's all I did.
Yeah. And then change the word recommended to
Get
consider.
on sale.
No, the word I want to use is consider. Because
But actually, I'm just gonna use the mixed thing I wrote for the other one. Mixed.
yeah, because it's one of those things where it's like it's not necessarily very good. It's a complicated game because it's not necessarily that it's terrible, it's that there are certain ways to enjoy this game, but it's not a game you can just pick up and play and like enjoy right away. It's like a song and dance, and I think it's worth mentioning. Very much conditional. Ian Rouser gives a membership. Thank you for the generous gifting of memberships. Really appreciate it, Rouser.
I will also note that the other donation from Dalton.
Oh yes, do we misread one?
No, just he made it again because he miswrote.
Wait, you double donated?
Oh,
Oh,
he
well,
double donated.
you didn't need to do that, but thank you for the donations. Glory to Ares and her resplendent bell. Glory to Smuckster, ringer of Aerith resplendent bell. That's not true. I haven't seen Smuckies or Smuckers since last year, honestly, and I don't think I'll see him all year if I had to guess. He's so a recluse. I see him in the Discord server, but he's such a recluse individual. He's always on when I'm not. That's because of work schedules. Sucks. Maybe one of these days the stars will align. Say hello. All right, and thank you for your generous donation, Dalton. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's not the strongest Total War. She's the weakest one, and she struggles to hold true.
What would you see the strongest one was?
Well, we'll get to it. We're gonna keep going through the entire list because eventually I'm gonna hit all of them. Oh, I missed one. Starship Troopers Extermination. Or wait, what? No. Oh
Teran
no.
Command.
It refreshed it, so it's slightly out of order. Okay, that one I did. That one I did. That one I did. Teran
Forts
Command.
is okay.
Teran Command is one of those games that has really good moments, and I mean, like it truly does. But it has really bad moments, and that's when the game sort of forgets what it's about. And so this one is going to be, what was the word we used to recommend the other one? Like
Mixed.
Mixed.
this one's going to be a mixed recommendation as well. It's got expansions I've not tried. The urban one was received slightly better than the other one, the fire one. And the reason why it's going to be mixed is because the setting and the aesthetic is going to carry this game. But the biggest problem this game suffers from is that it does these big epic like bug battles and stuff, and that's the strength, but then it does like stealth missions. And like that just does not feel good in this game. It feels more like the stealth missions are chores to get through, if that makes sense. I enjoy aspects of the game. I've been thinking about revisiting it and streaming this game again, because of all the expansions and trying it one more time, especially after all the patches, because it does appear that the Aristocrats and Slytherin have been putting in a lot of patches and love to this game, and they have been passionate about working on it. And so that's why I actually am going to recommend this game. Switch it to recommend, because I think it's not so bad. I just really hate stealth mission. It's more of a personal bias than anything else.
The game is pretty fun. But
It's only on a minor sale, though. It's a bit more expensive than the other, $17.99, and its respective expansions combined is $15.82. But again, if you want to pick up a strategy game, yeah. I just really hate when they have missions where there's stealth missions. Oh, God. Only a few RTSs can pull off stealth missions well, and that's like Command and Conquer, specifically not any of the first ones. It's like Red Alert 2, Year's Revenge. Those stealth missions were good and fun. And then some of the other CNCs are like hit or miss. Red Alert 2, I think, nailed them the best because they introduced the concept that the stealth mission can become a base build mission. And one of the GDI missions in the first CNC also did this, which was good. My issue is when they don't do that. Because it's like you're leaving out like the core mechanics your game is designed around. Generals had some okay stealth missions because usually they turned into base building missions. It was like the setup to freshen it up, and that I'm fine with. It's just that, you know. But yeah, this is a fun little like Starship Troopers. It scratches that itch where you're like hosing these little bugs, and it feels good doing it. Like you feel like it takes like a bajillion Marita bullets to bring these things down, and it's a nice throwback to Starship Troopers. Sadly, they've never ported the other RTS, which is Teran Ascendancy, which I've always wanted to have on PC. That would work because it doesn't work on my computer. Next up we have is Pharaoh Total War. Now this is not Dynasties, so this is not recommended because what's Dynasty Edition? Is Dynasties?
No, it is the same.
Oh, they're merged into one.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a Total War that I want to recommend fully, but I can't. And the reason why I can't recommend it is because it's abandoned. So much like many of the Total Wars and like Three Kingdoms, it starts to get better, and they significantly improved this game massively, which is good over time. It still needed a lot more work, but then because Creative Assembly keeps dividing its resources and not allocating proper resources to this game to build up its depth, it comes off as shallow in a lot of areas where it shouldn't. And that's unfortunate. And so it's one of those games where it's a mixed recommendation because the era is going to have to carry it. You also need to understand that it is a dead Total War. And so the only thing that's going to carry this thing forward is going to be its modding community, which there is a modding community. It is active and there are mods coming out for it. But it is again, another one of those Total Wars that falls into the category of abandoned before its time, which seems like this is becoming the norm with a lot of Total Wars. And so that is unfortunate, in my opinion.
Do I rate this as mixed or not recommended?
Mixed.
Don't write it down at all. Okay.
Mixed because it's one of those games that you could get enjoyment out of it. You know, $20 is hard to argue for. I mean, that feels fair for what this game actually has to offer.
Yeah, and it says right there you get Pharaoh Edition for free.
Yep.
Dynasty Edition.
Which includes the Mesopotamians, it includes the Achaeans, the Greeks, and the Sea People stuff. So yeah, it's basically Bronze Age Total War is how you should view this game. But the unfortunate thing is Bronze Age Total War that's kind of fell into the same problem that Three Kingdoms did, in which it felt like it could have used a bit more work and a bit more expansion. But it repeats a lot of the same mistakes that a lot of the modern Total Wars have when it comes to flocking issues, when it comes to AI diplomacy issues, and other issues like that. And while it does do its best to try to stand out, ultimately I think it fails to push the franchise forward. It's more or less fun, but if you're kind of in a situation where you're kind of like tired of the repetitive nature of Total War and you would like to see the franchise advance forward, this one's not going to bring it forward. It's more or less another Warscape Total War, and it's not terrible, but it's not, I think it's not what people want to see in terms of like a dedicated fan like myself, because I would love to see the franchise move forward. The big thing here that it gives it positive, though, is some of the visual effects. Now, I know that sounds goofy, but they've tied some of the visual effects to mechanics, like the weather system, explaining how weather works, as well as explaining how fire mechanics work, like grass fires, and the fire mechanics being improved here is one of the big reasons why this game doesn't fall to not recommended. That's why this game stands above that. And if it wasn't for that case, then, you know, it would fall below. But the expanded fire mechanics, the blood on the river effects is nice. It clearly shows that it wants to go forward. Like, there's mud, troops get muddy, units, equipment degrades, but they don't show that visually, which is kind of a disappointment. They really should show that visually, like cracked shields and bent swords and stuff. What a missed opportunity that was, you know? Again, there are a lot of opportunities to expand it more, but yeah. So it's one of those games where it's a mixed recommendation. It's not bad, but it's also not amazing either. Does some things right and really right, but sadly needs to do more than that. Next game we're going through is Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition. This is a let's see, how much is it? Oh yeah, that's an instant recommendation from me. $7 for the Definitive Edition is not bad. I don't know if it includes the classic version of Age of Empires 3. I kind of hope it does, but I'm not sure if they don't do that. But yeah, it's more or less Age of Empire 3 goodness, and it's got some new factions added to it. There are new nations, like they did add United States, Mexico, Africa. I don't really care about that too much, because they're just not very interesting, especially in this time period. What was the other one? It was like the Mediterranean one. Yeah, Knights of the Mediterranean. That's the good one. That was good. It adds the Italians, and it adds the Knights of St. John, which is really cool. But yeah, Age of Empires 3. If you like Age of Empires stuff, Definitive is pretty good. It's more or less that, but a little bit more stuff. It doesn't include 3, or the original 3. That's a bit of a shame, but it's worth picking up. It's overall a classic Age of Empires game, but it's a bit more experimental, so if you didn't care for the card system, that's okay. You know, it's still there. But the one thing that the Definitive does is you don't have to grind to unlock your nation's cards. You only, like, XP you get for your nations, it allows you to customize your port and make it look cool. And so you have all the cards unlocked from the get-go. That is what makes Age of Empires 3 Definitive worth picking up, at least in my mind, because part of the reason why I didn't get into the original 3's multiplayer that much was because you had to fucking grind in order to get access to cards to even remotely have a chance.
So, I've only played this one multiplayer a little bit, and it is actually a pretty fun game, but do keep in mind it is potentially wildly unbalanced.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's the most balanced game, but it's a game that we brawl with friends usually whenever we play it. The PvP brawls with friends in Age of Empires game is like the equivalent of like a party RTS. Age of Empires 2, I think, is always going to be the king. What, Squilly?
No, it's like I'm trying to think about my experience with Age of Empires. It's like it was fun, but it's a lot of like choosing your maps to have fun with, because the maps are actually very, very. There's a lot of variety to them.
Tibbs, have you played Star Sector?
Yes, I have, but it's not on Steam. Right now, we're focusing on the Steam Fest sales.
Yes, I know. Casvik keeps asking. I just wanted to.
No, I'll tell you what. Once we get through all these games, I'll talk about that one. Now, Dawn of War 1. This is a goddamn recommend.
Best cutscene out of all the games.
Best fucking cutscene out of all the games, and it's a fucking classic. This is a absolute gem of a choice. I feel like we should almost tier these recommendeds. We'll go through the recommendeds list after, and then we'll probably start like adding like a highly recommend or something.
Is so silly.
Okay, we you know what we can do? We can do a YouTube tier list.
No! Dangling dead from a tree. Dawn of War is one of those RTSs that I remember getting from Media Play and St. Cloud with my dad. And I remember when we got this, like we both had a box, and like, oh my god, it was so good. Fuck, it was so good.
I think Moogie has a cat on his his keyboard.
Now Spig has donated $2. We need to send Kamigawa to Cookie Rehab Club.
Evidently.
You know that Kamigawa, he just loves.
So the big thing about Dawn of War 1 is, well, it doesn't, it's not as strong as its standalone expansions that come later. It is one of those games that has a solid campaign to play through. It's still worth playing today. For its campaign alone, it's worth picking up. And that's the big thing, because I know that the multiplayer might be, because the reality is coming in a post Dawn of War 1 world, right? Like, Dawn of War 1 is out, and not only that, but Dark Crusade is out, and Soulstorm is out. And so the reason why it's worth picking up Dawn of War 1 is you have to ask yourself, is the campaign worth it? And I would say yes. The campaign is definitely worth it, especially for just a simple $7. It's really worth picking up. And I think Anniversary comes with Winter Assault as well. Maybe not. I don't know. No, I don't think it does. Winter Assault is separate?
That's a shame.
Wait, what? Are they merged together? What the fuck?
Anniversary edition, yeah.
Oh,
It comes with everything, I think.
okay.
That's definitely worth it then.
That's incredibly worth it. Because that comes with Winter Assault, Dark Crusade, and Soulstorm. Yeah, never mind.
That is definitely worth.
That's a fucking steal. That's a fucking
Yeah.
steal for $7, because that's all of them in one. Never fucking mind. Yeah, that. There's no reason you shouldn't have this in your library. There's no reason.
There you go.
This is one of the best RTSs out there, and it's while I enjoy Company Heroes, this is superior to Dawn of War 2. This is superior to Company Heroes in my mind, and always will be. The classic Dawn of Wars just had something that I think Relic lost with time as they went on with their games, and that's just like the scale of the chaos, because the chaotic combat in this one's so fucking nuts. This is good. It's peak. Dawn of War 2 can't even hold a candle to this shit. Oh my god, so good. But yeah, Dawn of War 2 is not bad, by the way. It's just a disappointment.
It's not the same kind of game.
Empire of the Ants. We need to talk about this one. This is a game I cannot recommend because it felt too much like a gimmick from playing it. It was more like it's a neat concept. It's based on a book, but Empire of the Ants is an action strategy game, and I don't recommend it purely based on the fact that I couldn't even get into it. I don't even know why I own this. What the fuck? I haven't even played it. What the fuck? I mean, I played the demo, and that alone was enough to tell me that I just didn't want this. Well, I think I lit $40 on fire at some point with the intention of streaming this. Jesus Christ. This is why we don't order things in advance, Kebs. Why we don't.
We tell you not to do that, but he's like, nah, I'm gonna buy it anyway.
So yeah, this one, the big problem with it is that I think action strategy games need to be tackled a certain way, and I think Battlezone had the gist of it. I think like Kingdom Under Fire had an idea, understanding how to do action strategy or sacrifice. The action strategy genre is a hard genre to make, and very few games can do it and do it well. The big problem with this one is that it's cumbersome. It doesn't. It feels like there's very little reason why you shouldn't be an actual RTS mode. But the combat's actually weaker than Empires of the Undergrowth. Empires of the Undergrowth is just a better version of this. The only thing that really has a draw here is visually, it takes advantage of the Unreal Engine in a good way, and it looks visually impressive. You feel like a little bug crawling around.
It was also funny watching ants randomly fly around.
They fling themselves in the fucking stratosphere.
You see randomly, but that was intentional.
Commissar has been a member for 20 months. It says Battle Bravos, Special Marines. Today, the Enomore is at our door. Also, hello everyone. Welcome to Stream, Little Commissar Czar.
Hello, how are you?
I don't have more to say on that game because there isn't a whole lot. Now, this game I have so many mixed feelings on. A part of me thought this game was really cool, but a part of me thinks that this game is not worth recommending. And the simple...
Yeah.
And the reason for that, and I know this isn't something I wanted to like this game, but the big problem with this game, Teran Victa, is that while it seems really cool, the crux of the issue that this game suffers from is that it is actually very big, but very shallow in a lot of ways. And while it has depth when it comes to the tech tree, it has so many techs in its tech tree that so many techs are fucking dead-end techs. Like, they're just garbage because of how this game works and how you have to fight and repel the aliens. Because the idea of Teran Victa is basically mankind basically fighting off an interstellar invasion. And that's really cool. And this game fails to achieve that in my mind.
Well, they try to basically be like, what would each different human sub-faction do? Like, some people might want to just try to flee, want an ally. And, like, they try to explore it, but they don't do a great job of that. And branching off of your thing with the text, like, I remember when I played it, there was like 10, 12, whatever different engines you could research and unlock. And
if you look at the guides, there's only one that's good.
Yeah. The rest are actually just like, just a huge net negative if you use them.
And the big other problem I have is the amount of time you need to invest in a game is hundreds of hours. And by the time you realize that the technology you've chosen is bad, there's no intuitive way to really figure that out other than experience. And when you experience that, it doesn't feel satisfying or gratifying, because I know somebody who plays this game, and the only reason why they're good at it is because they used a guide. And I know this, I'm not going to name names, but the fact that there is a guide, and if you don't follow that guide to a T, like, there's like a couple of paths, and there are a couple of paths, it's not just one, but it just sucks. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. It was a really cool idea conceptually, but I think the biggest problem with this game is that it's trying to be a lot of things, and it just doesn't succeed at any of those things.
It also doesn't have any form of combat besides these space battles, which are
the ground battles are horrific in terms of how boring they are, and the space battles themselves are clunky too.
It's moving PNGs around the map, like, and then you hit, end turn or whatever.
This game is a massive. It's a really, really cool concept that just didn't.
It's still in early access, isn't it?
Yeah, it still is. It's just I can't.
How long has it been in early access?
Oh, only since 2022.
Remember you guys? Yeah, it's like 2 years of early access.
3. We're going on 3. But the big thing is that that's fine. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as the game. The big thing is, what I think people need to understand with early access games or even indie games is and it's not an indie game at all, by the way, because it has a publisher.
Horse.
The big thing is they need to actually develop into something, and the big problem I have with this game is, while it is really cool conceptually and I really want to like this game, I can't.
When I last looked at like any content updates, it seemed like they were more or less just spinning their wheels in place. They weren't like actually improving things. But I haven't looked at it in over a year now.
The portraits are horrific. Holy fuck. But yeah, no, this game I don't recommend. It's really cool conceptually, and I mean really cool conceptually, but in practice it's cumbersome, its user interface isn't good, its overall interface is garbage, honestly, and it's just ass to navigate. It's
what
not
I don't
worth
understand,
picking up. It's not worth the asking price.
These are the guys that did the Law and War mods for XCOM that everyone loved, or a lot of people loved. And instead of trying to build off that and kind of do their own version of that, they did this, which is nothing like that. It's just sit there for hours and hours and hours until you can finally do something.
What is a Long War mod, by the way?
It just basically adds a bit more stuff to the campaign and extends it to simplify what it does.
But yeah, that's my overall synopsis of this game. I wanted to like it. I spent 35 hours in it, but ultimately I came to the conclusion that it just wasn't worth the effort. And a lot of people I've talked to that have actually played this game, at least personally, there's only like a handful that actually still like it. The problem I have with it, and they have with it, is that it kind of has that issue where it's just so many pointless things that don't do anything and that lead to nowhere. And so it ends up being a waste of time. But yeah. It makes me sad because I really wanted to like that game. Alright. Next up we have is Total War 2. This is a game that I don't recommend. The reason why I don't recommend it is because it's not on sale. It's fucking full retail. That's retarded.
Not worth it.
And it's just not worth having. It just isn't good. The big reason why it isn't good is because after $110 worth of DLC, it still feels kind of mediocre at best.
Also, if you just buy that game, you only get 4 factions.
Yep. It's too many expansions. I can't recommend any of the Total War Warhammer games because they're just not worth picking up. Especially not worth picking up at full retail value, and not being on sale. Like, it just, no. You're not getting your money's worth here. You're getting scammed pretty badly too. This should at best be like $5 along with Total War 1, 2, and 3. And then all of the games collectively should reach $40. Like something like that. Because that's how fucking outrageous the game's pricings are. I'm insulted to even talk about this game. We're moving on.
It's more DLC than fucking game at this point.
Oh god, don't hit back. I keep fucking up. Gotta make sure I didn't go through any of these already. Okay, we're good. I did play this game. This game was quaint, but I'm not big into tactics games. Somebody gifted this to me and wouldn't let me refund it. But I can talk about it because I have played it. If you like Commando style games, this game might be just for you. Because that is what exactly this game is. It's not a game I recommend because I didn't really care for it that much. But, yeah, there you have it. I played it, so I have to talk about it. Now, here we're cooking. We're cooking, chat bros. Aliens Dark Descent is a game I fully recommend. It's got a weak ending, but remember, it's always not... The journey is actually more important than the end itself, usually. Because if you couldn't enjoy the game to begin with, the ending didn't matter in the long run. The ending's a bit disappointing because a lot of the mechanics the game builds up isn't used in the final act, which is just a massive letdown. And that's worth pointing out because that's my biggest complaint about this game. It's only $17.99, which is $18. And basically, it's one of the few cases where you see a horror RTS being done well. The only case I've ever seen that is Homeworld Cataclysm. And so what's really cool is just the overall vibe. It's squad management and tactics, and it's about like trying to hide and keep your troops hidden because the forces they're fighting are vastly outnumbering them. It's got a lot of tension, it's got a great atmosphere, and the story is actually pretty good. It plays off more of the Aliens expanded universe, which is actually pretty strong and interesting. So yeah, Aliens Dark Descent, a solid horror RTS. Anyone else have any comments on this one?
I thought it did a good job of actually capturing the setting of Aliens.
They
actually nailed the atmosphere, I thought.
The atmosphere is perfect in this, yeah. It feels like it's in this universe, and it's just good. Honestly, I was surprised to see it, and I kind of hope it gets a sequel.
Yeah, I only got a few missions in, so I can't really comment on late game or mid game even. Dark Descent had base building.
No, ignore the English. He's being a meme.
No.
Moving on. Unless you have comments that are pertinent, not regarded. Now, I did play Terminator Dark Defiance. And I want to talk about this one because I did refund it. This is a game in which it's worth mentioning. It's more like a classic... It's not the games that usually appeal to me, like Blitzkrieg or Sudden Strike, where you have like a management of like squads and munitions and fuel and stuff like that. And so if you like the little bit of detail there and you like that Terminator sort of aesthetic, I know a lot of people that really enjoy this game. I couldn't get into this game. I wanted to, and they recently launched an expansion where you play as Legion, which is basically the machines, which I might one day try this game again because it is on sale. Maybe pick it up because I do want to try this. Slytherin generally makes RTS that are kind of average, and the concept of it is cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, concept was. I was just going to remind Chet that most of these games that have been shown actually have, or if not most, the chunk of them have demos, so you can actually even try them before purchasing.
Always play the demo before you buy the main game.
This does.
If it has a demo, yeah. Right here it does. And remember, you
It's
also have a
there
4-hour
or be on
mark
the
to
right.
refund, or is it 2 hour? 2 hour refund.
2 hours, I'm pretty sure. But Steam will yell at you if you do that too much in a row.
You can get away with 3 hours.
Try not to recommend things that might get them in trouble. 2 hours is the stated basically refund point, so that is the point we talk about. You don't tell Chatfish to do things that might not work because you might end up making them lose money.
Also, Templar was asking about the story for Dark Descent.
Oh, Dark Descent? The story is basically... it would be spoilers to talk about it, but basically...
Just how good was it, basically?
The story is pretty good because the overall like gist of what's happening, the conspiracy and like the riots and whatnot that are happening on the planet are interesting. I don't want to get too much into details about the story because spoiling the story spoils an aspect of the game that is appealing. Dark Descent is very much a story game. Aliens Dark Descent. And it's one of those things where the story is what majorly carries it. It's why the ending is kind of disappointing. but I can't get into detail beyond that. The journey was worthwhile. The factions you fight against and play against is interesting. There's like a city. There's a multitude of factions. The Marines are involved, and there's Weyland-Yutani involved, and there are various factions trying to do different things. It's not just the Xenomorphs. The Xenomorphs are the hazard in the setting and the terror, but there are other things going on deeper and darker that you will find out when you play the game. If you
I'll be
It's
honest.
a dark descent, even.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, I'm far more scared of Weyland-Yutani than I am the Xenomorphs.
because they do the evil experiment stuff. There's also
They will
like a
do
cult
terrible
too.
things to you.
Oh yeah, there's like a cult faction as well. So there's a lot of moving parts in the story, and it was really cool. They just should have, to talk about the ending. They basically, all the mechanics about dealing with your squad and building up squads and building up experienced troops and stuff like that, and all these departments on your ship, is important. But the big problem the game suffers from is that it doesn't use any of those in the final act, which is like dumb, because you end up playing as like hero characters to do that part of the story. And while that's okay, it's kind of disappointing because all that stuff you'd built up doesn't get used later. Like you'll get like an APC vehicle that you can use and stuff like that, and all these cool things, and that's really fucking cool. It's really fun. I hope chat funds a second playthrough. Maybe there's mods for it, but Dark Descent was good. I was always hoping it would get expansions, but it never did. Shadley.
Did it sell well?
Mod that turns the Queen into Thomas the Tank Engine.
Boop,
So I
boop, boop,
suspected.
boop, boop, boop. Fuck it. But yeah, because Dark Descent seems like a popular one to talk about real quickly. But yeah, the story is good. Basically, you deal with an infestation, and the Marines have no idea what the fuck is going on, and you have to basically figure out what the fuck is happening on this planet. The synopsis is like your ship runs into troubles, and you can't leave the solar system, and I can't say why. It's spoils.
That is literally
Boily.
the first mission and the key entire setup for the story.
Yep. And so your entire Marine detachment is stuck here. It's pretty cool. And it handles the alien setting in a respectful way, I believe.
And look, squad customization. Wow.
Also, it's got a stress mechanics that's really good. And honestly, this would also work perfectly in a Dead Space strategy game as well. Because the idea of this horror RTSs is I wish there would be more horror RTSs.
Now I want a Dead Space version of this. Thanks, Gibbs.
I know. When I was playing this, I was like, Dead Space would click so well with this shit. It's not even funny.
Why must you make me want things I can't have?
Because EA is never going to do anything with the Dead Space license. They're just going to sit on it forever.
Yeah. They literally were like, we had no intention of making a 2 remake, even though this one did fucking amazing.
We're EA.
We're retarded.
No.
We could be literally the gods of gaming, but we choose not to be. We choose not
Instead,
to.
we will burn money.
That's EA in a nutshell. God, if I could just run their fucking stuff for them, I would help them fix their shit. But anybody, a baby could do better. All right, so let's see. Back to Alien Terminator Dark Descent. It's a cool military game. The story is kind of, it's a bit on the 2010s like action schlocky side where it's a bit basic. But at the end of the day, it doesn't need to be anything more than that. And it's got some cool combat stuff and mechanics to it. It's a game that I recommend considering. Because it's a game I do want to promote RTSs, and not just promote them because they exist, but because it's not necessarily a bad game. I just think it's not the particular genre that appeals to me, but I can tell that it's not a bad game because I have played bad games, and there's a fundamental difference between understanding what's for you and what's not for you. Just like I did with Shadowblade's Tactics, or whatever the fuck it's called, because I just fucked up the name of that like 6 times. Now this is a game I have played. But they've rebranded themselves again. Interesting. So this is a game. What?
I was looking at it. Keeps blacking out every time you
Oh,
show
Frank's
it.
been a member for 23 months. Kibbs rating games. Let's the silent about the rumors of $100 GTA 6. Yeah.
Yep, we're not going to talk about that right now because we're focusing on RTSs. We'll discuss that later. And that's also rumors, and making content based on rumors is beneath me. So the next thing is, okay, fine. We'll just talk about it just for a second. Honestly, it's a rumor. I don't really care. It's also Grand Theft Auto. It's going to sell anyways, so they can get away with it, maybe. it makes sense, but it's one of those things that I think there'll be massive backlash if they do it. And honestly, it's one of those rumors where it's sort of like the Kingdom Come Deliverance rumors, where they're just fabrications. It doesn't matter if it's true or false right now, because there isn't enough information to actually go on anything. And to make content based on it would be disingenuous and would be milking a lie for profit.
It'll only become true when it's actually being sold for that price. Otherwise, it's just no reason to.
Yep, and I'm better than this, and I'm not going to waste my time with that shit. So, Total Conflict Resistance. This is a game that basically is Bannerlord, but in some fucking bumfuck Slavic nation, where you can be like make your own little country thing. It's a really cool concept and really neat, except for the fact that it's super shallow. It's just not very good, at least last time I played it. Now, it's been many, many years, and they've rebooted and rebranded their name, because I know they weren't called that.
There was another one I think called Freeman.
Yep, and I know that their studio went through like a Civil War thing, but it looks like they've added vehicles, and who knows, maybe it has gotten better. But it was one of those games where I couldn't recommend it, and I don't recommend it to this day, because the problem is like with Bannerlord, it suffers from the exact same issues Bannerlord does, where it's got a really neat concept, but it just does not play particularly well. And so that's the crux of the issue. Like, the gameplay loop usually gets repetitive. Though, honestly, there was a lot more variety in this than the Bannerlord had. So, yeah, that's my general assessment.
This one is not.
The AIs just are derpy because they just get stuck on things, and it's just...
It needs a lot more time in the oven, I think.
I just don't think the studio has experience to make it. Now, another game I played, I do not recommend this. It's called Dawn of War 3. It's absolutely detritus. It's basically a compromise between Dawn of War 2 and Dawn of War 1, but in the worst of ways, and it feels more like a MOBA than anything else. Now, artistically and visually, this game actually is not bad. Artistically, visually, and auditory-wise is actually okay. However, it does not really mesh with the Dawn of War or Warhammer 40k art direction. And because it's not really meant in the same art direction, it feels more like a StarCraft clone, visually, than anything else. And that's just its ultimate problem, because the art for this game is actually not bad. It's just, in context of being a 40k thing, it is bad. And had this game not been Dawn of War and had a different paint job, it probably would have done okay as a mediocre RTS. That's my general assessment. But it's one of those games where it's just not really worth it. I mean, it's on sale for like $8, so if you're terribly goddamn curious, you can pick it up, but like, it's not a game I'd recommend. Because I didn't enjoy my time in it, and ultimately, it's like Fire Warrior, where the more you play it, the more you dislike it as time goes on. That's what it always feels like. Just bad. Not good. Don't like it. Moving on. Men of War Assault Squad 2. What more is there to say besides it? No, I opened it in the same tab. I'm so stupid. Oh my god.
You are?
I'm not supposed to click the middle mouse button to do it. Oh. I just made myself sad. All right, so what we're going to talk about quickly before I have to back up and do that. Fucking kill myself. Men of War Assault Squad 2 is like the Men of War game to pick up. It's got this cool skirmish mode, co-op mode. It's really great to play with friends. It is probably the best Men of War game, period. There's not much else to say than that. The one thing to note is that the AI is a bit stupid. A bit stupid is a bit of an understatement. But it's one of those World War II RTSs that you can really enjoy its co-op missions. The co-op missions are one of its strong suits for me personally. And that alone carries this game entirely. It's pretty fun. It's got pretty much, you can play as any of the factions. You can play as Germany, you can play as Japan, you can play as Russia, you can play as America or Brit-Bongistan. And you get a good vibe for like how warfare feels, and the explosions are more of like a simulated aspect. You can even take direct control of units and like pilot them in like third person, which is kind of cool. Which is a really neat concept. It's one of the better Men of War games out there, and honestly, it is, in my eyes, the best Men of War that they've ever made.
I will say this, at least in my experience with Men of War, infantry combat is probably the weakest part of the game. The vehicles are like the better part, especially when you're doing direct control.
But yeah, it's also only $6 dues, which isn't terrible. Not bad at all. Alright, let's see where it puts me. I get to talk about Nebulous Fleet Command. Good, good. Nebulous Fleet Command is a game I do not recommend, and I don't recommend it purely on the basis that it's just kind of convoluted. It's one of those games that's hyper autismo, and so while it is a game that could appeal to some, it tries to simulate realistic space combat the best of its abilities, but it is incredibly unintuitive even after doing the tutorial. It's just a visual and user interface mess. And I think this game could be done way better, but I think it's trying too hard to put on airs about it being hyper advanced and make it big thinky to the point where it's alienating people.
It's really trying to emphasize the realism, especially with their sonar system.
It is by no means stretch a terrible game, but it is a game that I think that's user interface and information is bad. And it's not really debatable. I know some people are going to get mad about this, but it's just got a bad UI. And it's a universal understanding. They really need to overhaul their user interface. They really need to overhaul information. They need to learn what tooltips are and expanded tooltips. And they also need to redo their entire tutorial.
Now, they might have done some of that since you last played, because it apparently has been getting pretty consistent updates, I've heard.
No,
as well as
the big
content.
thing is it is. I just don't recommend it at its current state.
Mm-hmm.
The last, and I've been keeping an eye on this game. The last thing they added that I saw was they added carriers, which is neat. But it has a stupid learning curve, and the stupid learning curve is only because the game's tutorial needs to be overhauled. And I think they could do a better job of overhauling not only the controls, but just the overall general UI. The big thing is the tutorial. Unless they've redone it, the tutorial just does not tell you hardly anything. And I've beaten the tutorial. They really need to expand it a lot more.
Unless this video's outdated, which why would they have, the top video be outdated? It looks like UI-wise, they haven't really changed much. At least when it's actually been showing them controlling stuff and not doing cinematic stuff.
It's one of those games also where it's like, I think a campaign or a campaign map would be the thing that would make this game appealing. But it's still early access, and because of it's in early access and its current state, I just don't recommend it, even for the $15. Mostly because it runs in the Teran Victa problem, except Teran Victa has no redemption. This does, in the sense that it might actually one day develop into something. Teran Victa, I think, is the problem. It needs to completely overhaul its tech tree, because its tech tree is garbage. Total War Troy. Let's talk about this one. Oh, no, wait, hold on. We get to talk about something good before then. Thank God. Total War Rome Remastered. Rome Remastered was produced and developed by Pharaoh Interactive, and actually did a pretty reasonable job of making Rome 1 run in a higher, basically, capability. In fact, it's criminal that they have not actually done Medieval 2 Remastered. It's criminal. It's actually criminal. Rome 1 Remaster is pretty goddamn good, and the reason why Rome Remastered is so good is because the camera controls and the overall stability and the ability to handle even more units and higher performance things, it's just Rome 1, but better. And I believe if you pick this up, I think it comes with Rome 1 Original, I think. And it's on sale for $10. Honestly, it's a classic goddamn Rome thing. Like, it's not bad. Not bad in the slightest. There's mods to restore the graphics to the original. The only thing that I have to criticize is that they don't have a toggle switch to switch to the original graphics. And the second criticism I have is that whoever designed the user interface, not as bad as the other game, but like fucking, what the fuck did they do? Like they did this thing where the user interface is, like, it feels mobile-y. And I know why that is, because Pharaoh Interactive is experienced with converting games over to mobile. They've made Rome 1, Rome Alexander, Rome Barbarian Invasion, Medieval 2, Medieval 2 Kingdoms, and Company Heroes 2, and the respective expansions. They've made them all for mobile. They've even done Tropico. They are a porting game company, and this was their first remaster project. And they did a pretty goddamn good job with this. It is criminal that because they have programmers and their team that have experience working on Medieval 2, it is criminal that they have not been allowed by Creative Assembly to make Medieval 2 Remaster. Criminal. Underscore that. Underscore, bold parentheses, whatever the fuck you need to do. Increase the scaling. Switch to tile set to, or text set to title. Fucking A. It's criminal that they have not been allowed to make Medieval 2 Remaster. actually criminal. Because they have the only reason why we've not gotten a Medieval 2 remaster is specifically because there's nobody on Creative Assembly that knows how to do it. However, Pharaoh Interactive has skilled programmers that actually have experience working with Medieval 2's code because they ported it to mobile. And because they have actual experience in-house, they should be making a Medieval 2 remaster. It's infuriating.
I don't think we'll actually see one.
We won't, because Creative Assembly has what we call a jealousy complex. Anytime there's a studio that outshines them, they usually basically piss them off pretty heavily. Yeah.
That, and I think Medieval 2 still gets regular purchases from people, so...
Medieval 2 is one of those games that desperately needs a remaster. Oh, it breaks my heart, chat bros. It breaks my heart. But enough lamenting. This is definitely on the recommended. Rome 1 Remaster is just a classic choice. And it's one of the best Total Wars on the market to date still. It's also got a plethora of mods worth mentioning. Rome Resurrectum is one of the big ones, and basically adds a plethora of things and expands the map and does a whole lot more. And there's also a lot of other mods that do that too. So its mods alone also help carry it, and its modability is one of its strong suits, because Pharaoh Interactive also understood that. Worthy of praise, worthy of commendation. And now we will move on to the next game. Now we have Troy Saga Total War. This is a game that I can't recommend. It's just Bronze Age Total War, but with limited scope. And while they did add fantasy stuff, because they couldn't make up their mind on what to do, it just isn't there. It falls into, it's not as bad as Thrones of Feltania. It's like, if you really care about Troy and the thematic, maybe, but that is not enough. Because honestly, Pharaoh's Dynasties gets a mixed recommendation because it's just this, but with actual variety. Because you actually get to do a bigger campaign map, and so that makes that better. But yeah, that's ultimately the reason why Troy Total War doesn't get that. It's just not expanded enough. It's just not good.
Sleep well, Harlot.
It also has
Have a good night, Harley.
problems. Good night, Harlot. Alright, next up we have Ultimate General Civil War. Ultimate General Civil War is a game that I would like to recommend, however, for the fact that it's made by Games Labs, it's sort of one of those games where it's very much going to be carried by the thematic and its aesthetic and its identity of being a Civil War game. But the big problem I need to address real quickly is it's a mixed recommendation, because Games Lab has an anti-player bias. And their anti-player bias kept leading them to doing more and more drastic things to the player, where a lot of the mission's core designs are fundamentally anti-player, meaning that the AI cheats in ways that's just really scummy. It's a fun game. I enjoy it, and I still like it. But because of its anti-player bias, it just kind of hurts the overall game. And the big problem is that the Darth mod guy, who basically makes these games, needs to shake his anti-player bias. He has this feeling that he's superior to everyone, and it kind of shows in some of his games. And the balancing is just not very good. It's one of those games that's cool as fuck, though, because there's no Civil War game quite like it, though.
Isn't this the one where, like, the AI will just keep getting armies bigger and bigger, no matter, like, what in the campaign?
In this game, you have to cheese the ever-living shit out of it if you want to actually win as the Confederacy, yeah. I mean, cheese.
You want to write history and make the true
That game
shads
is
of the
horribly
time.
paced and balanced, says Czar.
That game is horribly paced and balanced. Yeah, that's one of the things it suffers from. And so it gets a mixed recommendation because it is interesting and it is fun, but because of that anti-player bias, it's why it's not going to be at its full retail value. So $15 reduce makes it kind of worth picking up.
Oh, Wandering Village.
I don't have
played that
you have
one.
experience? Okay, you can talk about it.
Yep. So this one's, I think, still early access, yes. So the entire concept of this game is basically just that. The world's fallen to some kind of plague or something, like, and you're survived by finding this giant beast, and you start building a village on top of it. And it just kind of keeps going, keeps walking, and then you can eventually start to direct it. And it's just a neat little silly city builder that, when I last played it, was relatively bare bones. Its art's very cute. It's got nice art. It's got a good bit of a personality to it, but it's relatively bare bones, and it's just a neat concept that they hopefully will end up building off of. What are they asking for it?
They're asking $18.74.
No, because it's still pretty bare from what I understand. Like, it's just biome updates, I'm pretty sure. But like actual story, it's just go until you die, basically, because eventually the environments get harsher.
It's a forever game.
City build survival is what it is.
Yep. Like, conceptually, it's neat. It's a neat little gimmick, but I'd say $10 in its current, at least the state that I think it's in still. So, not really, but something to maybe keep your eye on if that kind of appeals to you.
It's definitely a neat concept. A neat concept for chatfishes. Like, ooh. Next up we have is Stronghold, the Definitive Edition. I'm actually curious. I think people are probably going to be frustrated by the fact that they're just making the same old game again. But yeah, it's basically Firefly Studios being perpetually stuck in a situation where they just can't get Stronghold to evolve. Poor studio, I feel really bad for them. They're going to die if that keeps going on the way it's going. But the big thing is that this is more or less just it's just Stronghold. This is the classic Stronghold, not Crusader, by the way. Definitive Edition, which is basically just uplifted a little bit. It's got some things added to it. It's like I played these games a lot when I was younger, but so I don't really have an interest in going too crazy with it. But yeah, you can see like there's the OG graphics, there's like the enhanced, so you can see
It's
a little
effectively
bit more.
just the remaster.
Yep. It's fun, and if you want to just visit Stronghold again because you want to see it in a slightly new paint job with a slightly bit more polished things, more than understandable. Its asking price is $7.49, which isn't terribly steep to revisit the Stronghold setting. Stronghold is fun. It is a fun city builder. It is a city builder focused on building up a castle, building up your economy, and then creating resources. So you have to make the cool thing about Stronghold was that you had to get guys to go harvest the wood. They got to bring the wood back to the keep or the warehouse, and then the warehouse would then have the supplies taken from it and take the bowyers would take it, or whoever needs that resource would take it out and then go build something with it, and then they would take that item, and then these production chains are what made Stronghold cool. And then you throw that into having a free-for-all with 4 players, and then it gets really cool because each of you are trying to build your own economy and industry and military. Thank you for doing that game. Thank you for at the very same time I was saying it. What the fuck? That feels creepy. That was
word of advice: if you play this game,
yeah, go ahead.
and you build dog cages, place them outside the walls.
Yeah, because they'll ravage the people inside.
I may have killed myself in multiplayer.
This is one of those party RTSs. I call it party RTS because it's very much one of those games where it's very relaxed, like Command and Conquer, or very much like certain games. They just have this comfy vibe to them, and it really succeeds in getting that down. Grabbing a couple friends, playing Stronghold with, building goofy-ass castles and trying to experiment and sieging each other is really fun.
What was the game before this one that you guys were talking about?
The game before this?
I missed that one entirely.
The city builder?
Wandering Village.
Wandering Village.
Wandering Village, okay.
It's a mixed.
By Chumba. But yeah, Stronghold's worth picking up. And for $8, if you've never played Stronghold before, this thing has quality of life features like being able to zoom out and stuff like that a bit easier. So if you're a bit newer to the RTS market, I would recommend this. And I recommend it purely based on the fact that, yeah, it's worth picking up because if you've never played a Stronghold before, you can try it now. Also, it's worth noting that Stronghold Crusader is also receiving its Definitive Edition next. As you can see, the demo is currently available and available to play. Crusader is my preferred Stronghold, mostly because I just like the desert sort of crusade vibes, and it just feels nice. It's got a little bit more variety to it.
The Crusade!
It's also a bit more brutal, if I remember right, when it comes to food, because food is hard to come by in Crusader, because, desert and shit.
I don't believe this one has a demo, though. Definitive Edition.
Sadly, it does not. But you can try the Crusader demo. The Crusader demo is out, and you can see if you want to pick that up, but it basically plays just like this one. Crusader's just a bit more interesting for me personally. Next up we have is Napoleon Total War. Napoleon! I like how they use the Medieval 2 trailer. That's right, they're using everything because the Definitive Editions, they did that. Weird, but they did that. Now, Napoleon Total War is a game I do recommend. I recommend it because it's basically a polished version of Empire Total War. It actually has a fully playable and functional campaign. If you want to play Napoleon in the Coalition campaign, you just need to start every one of the Napoleon story arc campaigns, and then you can play him in the Coalition campaign. It's polished, it works, the units are able to shoot as they're supposed to shoot, and because of that, like, the game actually functions. It's much better in terms of that regard. It also has a decent modding community as well that sort of expands it, and it's also got a pretty interesting multiplayer base where they sort of simulate like battles if you want to try it, but you have to join those communities if you want to do those. But yeah, I think Napoleon stands up as a recommended. It's a bit more of a focused experience. It should have been a patch for Empire, but it wasn't, and so it's only focused mostly in Europe and Spain and things like that. I know I said Spain separately as if it wasn't a part of Europe, but they have a separate campaign.
I mean, is it really?
For Iberia.
What is Spain? But hell.
But yeah, Napoleon is a polished version of Empire, and if you want to get that sort of like line infantry combat and have it feel good, Napoleon does that. I do recommend modding this though, because the base game is definitely playable and functional on its own. Unlike Empire, you can actually just play it by itself. However, the mods improve it massively, and when it comes to most Warscape Total Wars, mods will enhance these games, not only enhance them, but really brush off a lot of the grime on that gem that has dirt on it. Which is really what it feels like. But yeah, Napoleon is a recommended. It's also got the first Total War to feature multiplayer campaigns, so you can pick this up with a buddy and play multiplayer campaigns. It does not have the same like unit sharing feature, so it's a bit more restricted. It's an earlier version of the multiplayer campaigns that doesn't get more improved until like Rome 2, if I remember right. I think is when they added gifting units so that your friends can actually share units proper. Alright, did I miss anything? No, I didn't. I have played Dungeons 3, but Dungeons 3, I have not played it enough. I intended to do a stream on this, so I can only talk about this briefly. And I can't give it a recommend or not recommend. It's only $6 though. It's basically, and it's pretty well perceived, it's basically a spiritual successor to Dungeon Keeper. And it has the ability to go into the overworld, which is kind of cool. So you can actually do stuff under the above ground. And so if you're familiar with Bullfrog's Dungeon Keeper, or Bullfrog Studios, this game very much takes a lot of inspiration from Bullfrog in that regard. And is more or less a sort of tower defense, but you know, you play as a bad person where you can go above ground and do bad things. That's what really sets this one apart from Dungeon Keeper, where it's more focused on your underground domain, so to speak. But yeah, interesting concept. Can't really talk about it too much because didn't ever get a chance to properly play it. Call to Arms is a game I do not recommend. I do not recommend it because it's modern Men of War, and I know people like this, but it just really feels kind of just clunky and rough. A lot of these always end up feeling rough, and then the microtransactions really just don't help. Because there's like a microtransaction store, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know. Not much else to say than that, because I didn't really ever get into it that much.
Clips of Call to Arms where the helicopters would just like disappear or like bug out really, really bad.
Yeah, the engine wasn't really meant for Modern Warfare.
But this is not a recommended.
Yeah.
Good.
Stronghold Crusader.
I'm keeping
2.
a list here.
I have played so many RTSs. Stronghold Crusader 2 is one of those things where it's a spiritual successor. It's only $4, but I don't recommend it because honestly, I didn't enjoy my time with it. I liked the idea of it, but it felt so cheap and tacky that it didn't really feel like a Crusader game. And while it did have the same mechanics and was better than Stronghold 3 by a lot, it just didn't really catch the same Stronghold vibe. I don't know why, but sometimes RTSs are better 2D than they are in 3D. And some things don't translate well in 3D. And Stronghold was one of those series that just didn't feel like it really gained anything from becoming in 3D. And I see no reason to get this over getting Crusader 1. I know some people like it, but it just...
When you say 3D, you can be able to rotate the camera?
Not just rotate the camera. You can do that in the original as well. In fact, you have to do that in the original by pressing a button, which is tedious. But the issue I have with this is that it just felt kind of cheap. Like it looks cheap. It feels like Play-Doh.
Yeah, it looks like it lost a lot of its aesthetic.
Lost a
It
lot of
just-
artistic charm, and that artistic
It's
charm and
artistic
personality
style,
is just
yeah.
gone. And so that's why it really struggled to recommend modern Stronghold games.
Classic pixel art graphics.
Actually,
Still
Is 2014 technically modern?
Is what?
Is 2014 modern?
I mean, most games. Okay, so when it comes to gaming evolution, this is going to be obviously debated. But as a developer, when I talk mechanically and development styles, usually the transition in 2004, 5 to 2006 and 7 with the Xbox 360, the 7th gen technology. 7th gen is kind of the beginning of what we call modern, what I call modern game design, because game design from 2004 and 5 kind of looks like it is, and more or less got polished and refined in 6 and 7. And so games have kind of not really pushed forward after 2006 and 7, and they have pushed in some areas, but there's not that, what I call that massive leap. It's more gradual now. There isn't this huge push forward. It's kind of gradual. So it's easier for newer generations of gamers to go back to those era of games and play them still today. And the reason why is because they're fundamentally not that different mechanically. So yeah, this is more or less a modern RTS. All RTSs that were pretty much made post 2008 or 9 are considered pretty much modern. Mostly due to the fact that RTSs are kind of stagnated. They're a stagnated genre. Pretty badly too. Very badly, actually. Very bad. RTSs suffer from stagnation. That's another conversation altogether, talking about stagnation of a genre. But yeah, Spellforce 3 Reforged. This was a game that had a lot of polish and visual flair that I just could not get into. I don't recommend this one. It's just, I don't know what about it. It felt tacky. And the thing is, it looks nice. Like, the map design looks nice. I watched Binsky play through the entire campaign. I tried it myself. I tried a different version of Spellforce 3 that has a bunch of multiplayer stuff, and I have more hours than this one. And that's the one I played mostly, but this is basically the same thing, but mostly story focus. But it just wasn't very interesting. It didn't grab me in any ways. And I know for a lot of people that like Spellforce, apparently this didn't quite click the same Spellforce stuff either. And I have very little experience with the Spellforce franchise as a whole, so I can't really comment on that. But it's a game I don't recommend because, honestly, it felt forgettable. Even the entire story, listening to the story as well, it didn't leave any lasting impressions in any positive or negative ways. Just kind of forgot most of it. Other than they had Geralt's voice actor, and he can only play one character, so he kind of sucked in it. Imperator is a game I do not recommend. It's an abandoned Paradox title. While it does it got some patches, not terribly long, and it's getting occasional patches. It's a game that seems like there's this weird mysticism about reviving it, that Paradox might revive this, and if they did, that would be much appreciated because an antiquity themed Paradox game would be really cool. But it kind of feels like it's limping along, and in its current state, I can't recommend it until they decide to revive it. It is only $11.99, but even with the mods, even with the overhauls that try to really bring this out, it doesn't feel like the antiquity Paradox game we deserve that goes to the, collapse of 400 AD. Because the further you get into the game, there's no barbarian crisis, at least from what I've last played this game. There's no crisis, there's no in-time invasion or whatever, what you could call it, or reason for the Roman Empire to collapse. It just sort of takes over the map, and that's kind of it.
Congratulations, you played the game. It's over now.
It's one of those games that I think needs Paradox to decide to revive it, or they can just sit there and not. I don't know. I mean, they're still doing patches
They tried
now.
to revive it, but it looks like it didn't work that well, so it didn't happen. Says Frederick Hinstead.
It's got a dedicated community that have not given up on it, and I appreciate that, but Paradox just cannot be trusted. The Homeworld Remastered Collection. This is actually a pretty good deal for $4 dues, mostly because it comes with the originals, if I remember right, and you can just play them. They're good. The only thing that's really missing in this is Cataclysm.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask.
Homeworld
What's the
Cataclysm is the superior Homeworld game, in my opinion. And that I know is my opinion, and that might not be a popular opinion, but I think Homeworld Cataclysm is peak. I think Homeworld 1 is okay. I think Homeworld 2 is okay. But I think Homeworld Cataclysm is where it's at. If you like Homeworld style RTSs, this is a recommend for me, because again, $3.49 is a really good deal. It's just 2 games, 2 classic RTSs bundled into one. It's only my only regret recommending this is that it's missing its most important counterpart, which is, you know, Homeworld Cataclysm. Which, by the way, is called Homeworld Emergence now, if you want to find it on GOG. It is available on GOG, and the reason why I have to say it's Emergence is because Activision wanted to sue them because it was fucking called Cataclysm, and somehow that threatened World of Warcraft Cataclysm, somehow.
It wouldn't,
The classic,
but yeah.
you know, trademark generic words.
Yep.
Yeah, Cataclysm or Emergence is not on Steam.
Cataclysm
It's
is
on
not,
GOG.
and because it's not, I'm gonna recommend it anyways. So we'll put Homeworld Cataclysm on there as well as a notable recommendation with a parentheses on GOG only. The reason why it is because it's such a gem of an RTS. It's one of the first horror RTSs I played outside of Aliens Dark Descent, but Alien Dark Descent was much later. Homeworld Cataclysm proved to me as a child that you can do horror in space. And the reason why it's good is because the Beast is like a faction, and the way the story is presented, the terror of the Beast and everything it presents is amazing. One of my all-time favorite space RTSs is Cataclysm, and will always be Cataclysm. The atmosphere is just so goddamn good in that game.
Bridge.
But the other Homeworlds are worth mentioning because they're also good games. It's just one is horror, so I lean towards it. 3 isn't. We're not at 3 yet. We'll be talking about it because we're going through the list of things as they appear because it's easier. Boop. War for the Overworld. I don't think I've even booted that up. Like, I can't really comment on it. Like, it's a game I got gifted to me and had intentions to play, but then the person I was gonna stream it for, or not stream for, but play it with at the time, or play with while hanging out with them, never happened. So I can't comment on it. It's another Dungeon Keeper game. I can't comment on whether I recommend it or don't recommend it because I never really played it. Total War Saga, Thrones of Britannia. This is a game I do not recommend at all. I know the only reason you could like this game is if you specifically like the Viking Age and Britannia. Because that's where it's set in. It's got a lot of experimental mechanics, and it's really cool conceptually. It's built in the Total War Attila engine, and it does polish Total War Attila stuff a bit further, but I didn't like it because I called it Thrones of... I remember the stream title, Thrones of Faeltania, and I even drew that Aerith on the cover, where she just looks frowning. Like, it's just... The problem with Thrones of Britannia is that it shouldn't have been its own game, and it's the first Total War Saga game, and the Saga games are fucking ass. Like, it's an ass concept because it's taking Total War and like picking a specific thing that's a hyper specific thing, and so it's very limited in scope and scale. And it's part of their Call of Duty mentality of trying to shit out Total Wars like Call of Duty games like annually because Creative Assembly has bloat and can't fucking get their shit under control. And so that's why ultimately this game fails to me. So that's the big reason. Thrones of Britannia just didn't quite do it, and so. Yeah, it's got its charm to it, but man, it's not a direction I think Total War should go. It should have been an expansion at most for Attila, and that's what it really was, an expansion for Attila, sold separately so that they could charge more. Should have been an expansion. You find that funny, don't you?
Isn't it because of this that they made
They rebranded Fall of the Samurai.
Saga?
Yes. They rebranded Fall of the Samurai after Thrones of Faeltania's failure to try to show that there was a positive game, because the Saga shit was received so goddamn poorly that they went back and retroactively switched a previous title to be a Saga game when all it is a standalone expansion pack.
It's just soggy, so very soggy.
Company of Heroes 1, a goddamn recommendation, and a goddamn high one at that. Its campaign is spectacular. Super fun, very awesome. Its expansions, respectively, all rolled into, not a bundle. They're sold separately still. I'm surprised they do that. The expansions are fun. It's all worth it. It's got a solid story. The Tiger campaign's really cool because you get to see the German perspective. Very rarely see that in World War II games. It's just a solid World War II RTS. Squad-based tactics done well. Fun. And really good sound effects in combat. Company of Heroes is not my favorite Relic RTS because Dawn of War 1 will always be a special spot in my heart. But Company of Heroes 1, I think, is better than 2, specifically for its campaigns. 2's campaign was the weaker one, and 2's strength is the multiplayer, like, PvE brawls with the NPCs. That's fun. Turn them up to max difficulty, and look at how fucking god-awful the map looks. After being blasted to hellscape.
I'm gonna group Company of Heroes 1 and 2 together.
Welcome to stream, Lou Luck. Hey man, is this game worth full price? Tempest Rising? No, I don't recommend anything until we've actually got a chance to play it. We're basically going through the Steam Fest stuff. We'll be actually getting to Tempest Rising in a bit here. The reason why I don't recommend anything right now, what I actually recommend, Lou Luck, because you just arrived here, is go and check out the demo. There's a demo currently available right now that's playable, and you can, if you're not comfortable doing multiplayer battles, because I know not every RTS player is big on MP, there's a single player skirmish mode in which you can try both factions for the blue guys, the GDF, and the Tempest Dynasty faction. So you can try both of them in skirmish, and you can get a better feel for it for yourself. It's a free demo right now. You should definitely give it a shot, because that's going to probably answer a lot of questions. It's not campaign, so it's only skirmish, but I think it tells a big tale of how the game is going to feel gameplay-wise. We'll actually be playing that next on stream. We just need to get through the Steam Fest, because there's so many goddamn games on here. And I got to make sure we finish our recommended list for the YouTube audience. So yeah, Company Heroes, fully recommend this one. Worth picking up. $4, not bad. Really worth its money. Silica. Silica's a game that I have a lot of strong feelings about. I love the concept of this game a lot, and I cannot recommend it in its current state, even though I intend to do more community events of this game. And the reason why that is because this game in particular is, what's the word? It's good, but it needs work. Like, infantry combat sucks, the monster combat's fun, the vehicle combat's good. It's an action strategy hybrid where 3 players total can be commanders and RTS modes, and the other players play as infantry and vehicles in the other factions or monsters. And it's a really, really cool idea. It's really good conceptually, but it needs polish. Yeah,
there's still a lot of jank in it.
It's early access, you know, it is on sale for $15, but because it's not realized its vision yet, I can't recommend it. It's not worth picking up until they realize
also
their
need
vision.
people to play with, because the AI is still very
Bad.
mid at best.
I've seen the AI throw. You can kite the mega units.
Yeah.
If it's controlled by AI.
There's also issues of bugs able to just climb and then get inside of the human buildings, and you just can't really do anything because you end up just shooting your own buildings trying to kill them. It needs a good bit of work, but it's a really cool idea, and it's one of the more promising ones of this style of game, I think.
You need to rework the human
yes, it
like
needs
gameplay
a lot.
altogether, because
it needs to work.
The human gameplay is so bad that
For infantry,
the
vehicles are better.
Well, the vehicle
not
it's
much
also
better.
it's also very blurry. I could never get it to not be blurry.
Yeah, it's got this blurry feeling, and it makes me feel like my room is hot. Maybe because
it comes with the issue where everyone wants to play bugs, no one wants to play human.
Brood
And
mother
you need people to play
hands.
humans. It's not here though.
I also tested Endeavor. I'll have to check that out too. I'll have to check that out.
Cataclysm mod for the remastered collection. That could be worth looking into.
Is it finished?
I don't know. I'll Google it. I'll check it out.
Homeworld Deserts of Karak. Ah, this is another. No, I opened it. No, I opened it in the main tab.
You
Oh, I'm so
stupid.
You have failed us.
Either way, Homeworld Deserts of Karak is an RTS that is set in the Homeworld universe. It's novel. It got a lot of flack because it wasn't a direct continuation of Homeworld, but it is fun. It is fun. It's got some bullshit missions, though, if I remember right.
To be fair, the direct continuation of Homeworld was.
It's far better than Homeworld 3. Homeworld 3 sucks ass. Matt Blankenbacher donates $30 and says, "Hi y'all, put me on the Gex 3 thumbnail if it opens." Hashtag Johnny Bravo voice. Thank you for the donation. Very generous.
Now, Matt Blackenbuck, that'll be for a pocket fish on there instead of a bucket fish.
For Homeworld Deserts of Crack, we can write this down as recommended because I think it's worth I think it's worth picking up. It's fun, and for $5, solid campaign.
It's probably worth that. I do need to actually play that one myself.
I need to actually
Jano
finish
donates
this one.
25 PLN. Squeak. New house service arrived in fan art for Chatty Patty's convenience.
Oh.
It's good fun. Darksiders 2, squealy alarm.
Thank you for the
You
donation.
can't do both. Jano.
Yep.
You
One,
get to pick.
one of those is a overhead.
Otherwise,
Well,
Squealy
two of those,
gets
actually.
mad.
Yeah.
What I would recommend, Jano, is helping Darksiders 2, and then telling Templar you're helping him, and then Templar might be able to help you with Squealy Alarm. Remember,
Darksiders 2
Chatfish
is
can work
30s
as
away.
alliances.
Darksiders 2 is pretty close to being finished.
Yeah, I'm kind of of the same opinion, Lulok. But when we're gonna try playing Tempest Rising after we're done with the recommendeds list, and then we'll see. I've got a lot of strong feelings on that game. Very conflicted. I'm conflicted on how I feel about Tempest Rising.
Oh. I have checked out Cataclysm mod. It's literally on the workshop for remastered. Still in beta. Doesn't look like campaign's in yet.
Okay. That'll be something to keep an
They
eye
are
on.
going to make a campaign for it.
Sins of Soul Empire Rebellion, fucking recommended. It's $11. I also recommend a sequel too, but I also recommend it's not worth picking up if it's not on sale yet, because all the expansion stuff isn't out for 2. The mods alone for Rebellion are amazing. Star Wars Interregnum, the Halo mod's okay. The problem is units just explode too quickly, and the Star Trek Armada 3 mod's really good. There's a bunch of other ones I haven't tried, but those are like top ones, and the base game standalone is very good. Plus, its respective expansions add some cute little mechanics. It's a solid 4X hybrid RTS where you take control of an interstellar empire and you basically fight for control of solar dominance between the various star systems. It's pretty fun.
Cool.
It's definitely on my list of recommended RTSs. I have a lot of fond memories as a child playing this, and it's just good. I remember biking to Target to pick this up. I don't know why. That's back when like I had a little bit of free spending money from chores and stuff, and then I found this game because it looked cool. And I remember biking to Target, not to pick up the first Citizens Empire. I think it was to get a copy for my friend Tyler at the time. Yeah, God, I have a lot of fond memories of playing this. Like staying up. I have one fond memory of this game. I played it so long that we stayed up because we had like a sleepover, right? Because, you know, fucking middle school, or was it elementary? I don't remember. Either way, we played this game. Okay, I was like 2012. What? No, like I was not that old. But yeah, no, the old ones came up within like 2008 or 9 or whatever. But we had like a sleepover or whatever, and we fucking stayed up playing this for like 24 hours plus. We had one campaign run that long. And like I remember starting to like, Tyler, I'm seeing fucking flowers on I'm seeing flowers on my screen because like I started fucking hallucinating like colors on the screen. But yeah, this is a game that you can lose a lot of hours in. A lot of hours. It's really good. I haven't tried the Battlestar Galactica mod. Wasn't a big fan of the show, but I do like the art direction of Battlestar Galactica.
The Cylons are cool.
Really envious of the prices on my end? What's wrong with you, Luck? Where are you from? Why are the prices where you're from? I mean, there's a massive sale right now. Ooh, that's a good one. You can't go, well, Age of Empires. Yeah, that was a recommended for whatever the fuck I just talked about. Whatever the fuck. That was Age of Empire. Age of Empires Definitive Edition. I don't have a lot of strong feelings about this one. This is like the first Age of Empires game ever made. So it's way before my time, and even when I found out about it, like it looked decrepit back then. But it's only $5. I don't have an opinion on it though. I played it briefly, but I just don't have an opinion. For the sake of brevity, I'm not going to recommend Age of Empires Definitive for the original because I have not played it enough to justify it. 30 minutes. And basically I was like, yeah, I'd rather play 2. Since Empire costs $100 on your end? Jesus Christ. Since Empire 2 is really good, but that's actually truly terrible. It must be Australia or Kanucky bucks. If I had to guess. Let's see. Next up, we have War Game Red Dragon. This game, I recommend. It's one of the few war games, or it's the best in the war game series. Great for playing with friends. A lot of fun. Just don't ban units. Okay? Just have fun. I'm saying this from experience. Having fun is far more better than banning things and setting up arbitrary dumb rules. It's fun, it's goofy, you can mess around in it. I enjoyed my time with Wargame Red Dragon. And it's just fun to brawl. A fun little game. I recommend Wargame Red Dragon. I do not, however, recommend Iron Harvest. I spent way too much money on this game's Kickstarter, and I want my money back still. I even have like the super limited edition. I paid for the version because when this was kickstarted, I paid for the version to get my face as a portrait in the game. I obviously declined to have my face in the portrait because I don't want my face in a game because I think that's cringe. But I have like the statue. I've got this cool diorama thing, and the statue's really cool and the art's cool. But this game is the massive disappointment. Like, the only thing good about it is the mechs look cool and the mechs like fighting. The infantry and the actual gameplay feels like ass. It's unsatisfying. It's very unsatisfying.
Also, all of the art and stuff and the aesthetic is just based off of the one guy's paintings.
Yep. And the problem is the lore is really bad for it too.
All of that the game is basically they took the guy's paintings and made it into a game based off the paintings. So like the mech designs were straight out of some of those paintings.
Yep. The mechs are, I think, the coolest thing about this game. The animations and when you control the mechs and the weightiness they feel. That feels satisfying, but like the actual game itself sucks. I hated the campaign. The campaign is rancid. It has no narrative idea or identity, and it's just bad. There are things I'm holding back saying because I have a lot of Polish people in my audience because I don't want to hurt your feelings. But it does certain narrative stereotypes that I've attributed to Polish writers that I can't stand.
The tutorial for the game is also just really dumb. You play as kids with snowballs, and it's just really tedious and takes forever to get through.
Yeah, this game could have been something great, but it was basically trying to follow in the steps of Company Heroes. It had really good art direction and visual flair with its mechs, but it ultimately failed at the end of the day, and it really failed to understand what made a good single-player mission, what made good stories and mission structure. It just really I really hate it.
It also felt like they just tried to copy-paste some of the heroes or the ideas of the heroes from, like, Command and Conquer games.
Yeah, the heroes themselves are dumb. The only thing that was funny about this entire goddamn campaign, its story's ass. Oh my god, it's so bad. Oh, that cutscene just now was bad, where the guy just jumps and she's swinging her sword at him. That looks just goofy.
The American
campaign. Oh, that's such a lie, GameStar. Oh my god.
Did seem to be somewhat amusing.
But the big thing, the only thing that I have positive to say about this is Potato Bear. Potato Bear is best girl. Potato Bear looks like a potato because in this game you super scrolled out, right? And so the bear looks like a potato wiggling across the map.
Potato.
So Potato Bear is the only thing I remember positively, and the only reason I have anything nice to say about this game. It's $5. If you're curious and you like the art style, you can try it. It's gotten like an American expansion where you can try the Americans, and then like a Rus-Viet Civil War expansion thing. But I think ultimately it lacked any vision of what it wanted to be, and so what it ended up being was basically, honestly, okay, real quickly, punk settings. Punk settings sound interesting in concept, except when you realize that things like, steampunk is just adding pipes and shit to things and gears and cogs.
Not pipes, just gears and cogs.
Yes, and so it fundamentally lacks like any sort of vision and becomes like a style of clothing. And so diesel punk, this is the problem with this. It's diesel punk. It's not Iron Harvest the world. It's just this fucking thing, and that's the problem. It has no identity. Video games need to have their identity, especially as RTSs. You need to have an identity. That's what made Command & Conquer the king of RTSs for a while. That's what made Age of Empires like rise to the top for multiplayer. That's what broke StarCraft out in the market competitively. You have to have an identity, and if you don't have an identity, you're either following in someone else's footsteps, and that's bad, or you're just nothing. And that's what this game ended up being. It had an idea, but it didn't develop its identity. And so it's just World War I stuff, but with mechs. And that's just not interesting. That's shallow. You need to go a step further.
Yeah. Now,
but
I do need to head to work.
No!
So a good day, as well as chat a good day.
We
I have
love you,
posted
Sugar.
in the stream room. If you do get to demos, there's 3 games that might be worth checking out demos for.
Okay, I mean, we're going to do demos for some of these RTSs today.
We can add them to the...
But we're going to do the recommended list first.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, if you do get to them, those are ones that might be worth a while. But yeah. See you, everyone.
I've got multiple
Have a
hours.
good one,
to
everyone.
see you. Because I played almost every... For a while there, I knew about and I read about, by like 2020 or 2013 or 2014 or 12, I had researched pretty much every RTS in existence and had a list compiled of every RTS that had ever been made, that was ever being made, that was ever attempted to be made or publicly known. It was written down on like several pages of notebook paper, if I remember right, because I intended to play every RTS ever made for a while, until I started playing so many of them that I could like play them and be like, this sucks, and then drop it immediately. This is alright. This is mid. This is mid. Alright, so Executive Assault 2 is a sequel to Executive Assault, and I waited to do this one as a community event, and we never did. That's the only thing I have to say about it, because I have nothing more to say. It's on my list of things to try with chat. Beyond that, I don't have anything else to say about that game, because no experience. Unfortunately, I have a lot to say about this game. Homeworld 3 is beyond disastrous. It's a fucking disgusting heap of shit. It's bad. It's basically Dawn of War 3, but for Homeworld. Except the gameplay is slightly more tolerable here than it is in Dawn of War 3. It gets less stale, I guess you could say, but it's just so fucking... The story is just... It's ass. I don't know what else to say. Like, it's dumb. The characters look goofy. It just feels haphazard. It doesn't feel like it has any sort of like continuity with the greater whole of the setting. It just sort of feels like there are special people and special people do special things. And it's like, okay, special people do special things, the story. And that's it. That's it. Like, that's the story. And it's got these great constructs and like ideas that you can position things, but ultimately it doesn't matter. Positioning is borderline. It feels like it's important, but it also feels completely pointless. They've abandoned development for this game. They heavily focused on like a PvE style mode that looked interesting, but ultimately it wasn't worth doing because, you know, they abandoned everything in the game. And so it's just another one of those RTSs that just had no vision of where to go. Just not worth picking up. Not worth it. Not worth it in the slightest. Terrible. Ooh, Rise of Nations. That's a good choice. Rise of Nations is a game worth picking up. There's very little to say other than basically imagine a game where you play as a civilization, like from Sid Meier's Civilization, in an RTS, and you start as little tribal bumfucks beating the shit out of each other with clubs, literally, and spears and rocks, and then you develop into like a modern civilization with atomic weapons on like a campaign or in a battle, not a campaign map. And so that made this game really fun. It's a fun game to play with friends with. You build cities, and it's sort of like a pseudo, slightly in more depth RTS, because it was one of those RTSs where you actually had like to build cities, you had to get researches and stuff like that and whatnot. It's really good. It's awesome that this got an extended edition. I hope it one day gets a definitive edition. Its sequel has very little to do with this and is more magic punk-y, steampunk theme. It's called Rise of Legends,
Oh yeah,
they
right.
borderline have nothing to do with each other, but that's also a good game as well. It's worth mentioning because it's hard to acquire that, and the only way to play that RTS is to either pay exorbitant amounts of money to get it, like I did, like an idiot, or to not do what I did and just go to my abandonware and just download it there.
Should I include both Legends and Nations on it on the list?
Yep. Write Legends as, abandonware. Because Legends is abandonware. Which is tragic because the Rise of Nations series was really cool. And this Rise of Nations game is really good and really fun. Fun to play with friends. Just good fun. Classic RTS experience. There's not much else to say than that. The whole building cities thing was really cool. Line War. Line War is like a RTS that's focusing on macro strategy game. It's something I want to try with friends, but most of my friends who play RTSs aren't never on. But macro war is like the idea of like doing like you take over territories, they slowly build units, and it's more macro scale. Like you build front lines and things like that. When I first played it, it was super fucking slow, so it took a long while to get like into the feeling. Right? But it's one of those things I want to come back to and try, because its entire goal is it's a macro-based RTS. And macro-based strategy games are kind of rare to see nowadays. To explain a macro RTS, it's like the grand scope, big scale level thinking. It's always what I've excelled at. It's why I'm usually a steamroll player in RTSs, because macro players usually do steamroll tactics. Steamroll or turtle-based. Those are like the two tactics doctrines I usually follow in strategy games, because I'm a macro player and I always kind of have been. Check Warrior Kings, Kibbs. The progression is nice. Warrior Kings? Are you talking about Warrior Kings? Oh, that Warrior Kings is good. Warrior Kings battles something. We'll get to it. That's another good RTS. I really like that one. Chat will. That's the one where you can choose to be like Imperial and get guns and ammunition carts, or you can like worship like ethereal entities and get like weird ethereal thingies. If I remember right. The Great War Western Front. It's $6. Wait, did I say whether I recommended the previous game? Honestly, let's not write it down.
Yeah, you did.
Line War, don't even put that on the list. Just not worth talking about. Haven't properly played it.
Okay.
Great War Western Front. I don't recommend this game. I don't recommend it because it's a great concept that ultimately didn't get fully developed. I did play a full campaign as, I think the French or was it the Germans? I can't remember. And we did a full campaign playthrough. But ultimately, it just didn't feel like it was developed. Like, infantry can't shoot when out of trenches or some shit. I don't know if they changed that. And petroglyph, usually doing petroglyph shit by just sort of shitting out an RTS that's kind of like got some concepts that never really develops further. And so the idea of attack and defend and like intricate defenses is cool, but this game way overstays its welcome. The idea of progression, where you progress the war and technology, you get like planes, chemical weapons, better artillery, is really cool, but it needed way more time to cook. Like, way more time to cook. And simply put, this game just never received that. Again, cool idea, but missed opportunity. Regrettable. What can I say except you're welcome?
Except you're welcome.
So yeah, that's just how I feel about that one. That's just how I feel about it. One of those games, it's only like $7, but I don't recommend it. So again, if you're interested in that thing, give it a shot, but yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to pick that up, and I'm glad I didn't, because it looked bad. All right, let's see. Total War Medieval 2. What else is there to say besides pick this up? This game is great. This game has an incredible ModDB modding community, and even alone, it's just fucking awesome. Its big problems is that it runs in its engine and has limited camera controls. And its engine doesn't let you like handle like large scale battles without like shitting itself. It gets a little laggy. But the city destruction, the siege warfare, it gets a bit on the repetitive side in some regards, but the progression of this game starts with like early medieval, goes to not high, but basically early Renaissance technology, like with cannons and stuff like that and bombard stuff, and like early black powder weapons. The black powder weapons don't work particularly well. There are mods and things that help improve this, but Medieval 2 Total War is one of the best strategy games in the Total War franchise due to its A, modability, B, flexibility, and C, how much variety the game goes through. Because it goes through a massive variety of gameplay, right? You start early medieval, just spears and bows, and then you get like knights and stuff, then you get like cannons and shit, and it's just really good. And then the grand finale is when you get to the late stage campaign. I'm spoiling this because most people will not make it that far if I tell you this doesn't exist. Late stage campaign, you can go beat the crap out of the Aztecs or whatever. It also has the Kingdoms expansion bundled into it, which is basically Medieval 2 but more focused campaigns. Like you can do Teutonic Order, Northern Crusades, the Southern Crusades with Jerusalem. You can do basically the Brit-Bongistan in its inner turmoil. You can do also the Conquistador campaign in basically America, which is really cool, really fun, genuinely really fun. Medieval 2 is just very good. Any mods that
Did
do
you
with
say it's a
Squalor
mucho
issues?
gudo?
I don't know, Sonic Nitro. Honestly, by the time Squalor becomes like a major annoyance, I'm usually either done with my campaign or bored. Because the problem with Medieval 2 is that it does get repetitive, but you will get a lot of hours out of it. A lot of hours, and I mean 100, at least 100. Easily. So it makes it very worth its cost of entry, which is again $6. Which is just a worthwhile campaign to pick up. I like how the trailer isn't of Medieval 2, it's a bunch of other shit too. Which is a bit annoying. But yeah, Medieval 2, highly recommend it. Really good. Age of Sail. Age of Sail, I do not recommend. And I don't recommend it mostly due to the fact that it was a neat concept with like basically like these colonial era ships and like having ground battles and combined arms, but ultimately instead of expanding into a grand campaign map, it's Games Lab's anti-player bias, which kind of holds back this game from being truly great. And due to that, it's one of those things like I just don't really want to recommend it. I love the idea of the combined arms aspect. It's really interesting, but they really should have made this into a colonial game. Literally what they should do with Age of Sail is make it Empire Total War. Empire Total War, but in the call it Ultimate Emperors or some shit. I don't know. Ultimate Presidents. I don't fucking know.
Ultimate presidency.
Yeah, or something like that. Because that's the Ultimate Series. And the Ultimate Series anti-player bias is what holds this game back. Not only that, but it's also held back by the fact that they don't embrace fully the they have an Asian ship. That's interesting. That is Asian. Or Middle Eastern. Nope. I think Middle Eastern. Yeah, Turkish.
Hipster.
From the looks of it. But either way, yeah. So it's just held back by those things. Don't recommend. Creeper World 3. I fully recommend this with flying colors. This game is not only made by a poor old man who needs your love and affection, who's also really bad at his own games, by the way. Holy fuck. But Creeper World 3 is like the premier Creeper World game. It's just awesome. It's fun tower defense and basically like liquid spawns, and the more dense colored liquid, the higher the liquid is there. Yeah, the graphics look a little goofy. It's sort of like a browser game, but it is actually a really good tower defense game. It also has a really fun story. I binged this shit, like eating fucking some pizza from like the Travel Plaza, and just like, oh my god. There's 2 games I remember binging with pizza, and this was one of them. I played this fucking thing like till the sun came up. Like it just got super into the zone. A great game to not necessarily turn your brain off, but just to chill and vibe to while listening to things or stuff like that. Creeper World is a relaxing sort of logistical tower defense game.
Chill games to study too.
Yeah. But yeah, Creeper World's great.
I lumped Creeper World in with number 4, by the way. Unless you want them to be 2 different entries.
As long as it says 3 or 4, both recommended because they're both good.
3 and 4, okay, good.
Star Wars Empire at War. What can I say besides I fully recommend this game? I've done a complete 180 on my opinion on this game. Mostly because with age, I've learned to respect this game. Even though it did like the ground combat so poorly, I wanted to brain myself. The mods for fucking Empire War are fucking spectacular. Awakening of the Clone Wars, Awakening of the Rebellion, Thrawn's Revenge, Fall of the Republic, just to name 4, are fucking incredible. Empire at War is a solid RTS. It is proof that Petroglyph could have had the potential to be great, and ultimately held themselves back. This was proof that Petroglyph could have done something. They could have. Star Wars Empire at War is one of the best Star Wars RTSs on the market, next to one other one, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, Empire at War is really good, really worth picking up. It's got a great campaign. It's got fun campaign missions, themed in the Star Wars universe, using expanded universe lore. Really good. Just classic Star Wars goodness. Next up, we have is Steel Division Normandy. I don't recommend this game. The first Steel Division is too limited in scope and scale to really recommend, and ultimately that's what ends up holding this game back. I just think that it was a cool idea conceptually to bring war game to World War II, but literally the sequel Steel Division literally is just superior to this in every fucking conceivable way. And so there's no real reason to play the previous one. It again lacks any viable reason to return to it unless you're interested in the campaign, but to be brutally honest, the campaign I found to be thoroughly mediocre. Cepheus Protocol is a game I cannot recommend painfully, and I say this painfully because the idea of this game is really cool. So conceptually, hear me out, right? Imagine Prototype, but you play as like the humans, basically like corporation or not corporation, but group that's sent into a zombie outbreak infestation, and you have to basically quarantine and like stop this infection from spreading. And each time you spawn into this like large cityscape map, you have to basically set up a base, set up areas, start evacuating civvies and getting civvies out of there while also dealing with the zombies. It's really cool conceptually, but due to the fact that it's just not really developed that well, and it's just kind of lacks the resources to reach its actual true ambition, I don't recommend it. It's one of those games I recommend looking at and checking it out, see if you like it, but yeah, it's held back by the fact that ultimately I think it's just, I just don't think the studio has the capabilities to pull it off. They're an indie team and they're trying their damnedest, and they've been working on this for a long time, for about 5 years, and so kudos to not abandoning their vision or dream, but I think ultimately it's just a very ambitious project. Ultimately, Ashes of Singularity Escalation. This is more of a tech demo than it is a game. There's not much more else to say in this. It lacks any sort of visual identity. Beyond that, it's pretty, and it's a way to stress test your PC, you know, back in like 2010 or 2018 or whatever. But ultimately, it doesn't really have its own identity. Like, it's macro-based strategy game, but like, it's very much tacked on. It's like pushing lines on a map to a node is what it feels like. And so while visually impressive, it's very shallow. And I have more hours in this than that says for a fact. But yeah, it just lacks any reason to really play it beyond that. 8-bit armies, a bit too far. I don't recommend it, and the reason why I don't recommend it is it lacks identity. The big problem is there's another RTS made by Petroglyph, and in the same vein of most Petroglyph things, this one I haven't played. Never mind. Can't comment on this one. Never mind. That's the other bit armies. It's on my wish list because I intend to check it out one day. Okay, we'll move on to the next thing. Command & Conquer Remaster Collection. Recommended if you like old RTSs, if you want to revisit Command & Conquer, the originals, and basically experience them, or you want to experience the original Command & Conquer for the first time. If you, however, do not like old game design or old RTS design, avoid this like the plague, because you will not like this game. It is an old RTS series, and I love this game, and I love the Remaster Collection. It's awesome. You can seamlessly swap between the visuals. It's got some like improved missions, and it's got all the missions from the consoles, the special missions from the Nintendo 64, the PlayStation, the Sega Saturn. All those special missions have been bundled together along with the respective expansions for both Command & Conquer Tiberium Dawn as well as Command & Conquer Red Alert 1. It's just really, really good, and it's solid.
And old.
Yep, it's just a solid revisiting of those things. Its multiplayer is very so-so for me personally.
CNC.
I have not played this game. from the depths. So I owned it because I intended to do something with it, but never did. I bought it when it was on sale. It's not on sale now, so it doesn't really matter. Spellforce 3, The Fallen God, I have played. And again, like with many of the Spellforce 3 things, it just feels kind of unnecessary. Not worth mentioning anything more than that. Particle Fleet Emergence is another strategy game. Oh my god. Just talking so much. This is another game. It's a very interesting thing in the Creeper World universe, I guess you could say, where you control ships, and it's definitely refreshing. It's very much one of the things where if you get the first 10 minutes down and are able to stabilize the 10 minutes, you will win it. It's a game that I don't have enough opinions about to recommend against or not for it, and so I'm not really going to say anything further than that, because I just have nothing further to say. It's one of those experiences that it was fun, but it wasn't something that I can recommend for or against. I just don't feel strongly either way. Stronghold Warlords. Stronghold Warlords. The attempt to try to make Stronghold into something interesting again. I wanted to see this game succeed so badly, and it ultimately just failed. It is not worth picking up. It is another one of those Stronghold things where they tried a bit better here than they did with Stronghold Crusader, but to be like unique and original, but they just couldn't fucking bring it together. They just couldn't bring it together. It just lacks. And I think, again, Stronghold suffers from the fact that I think they just cannot make it 3D. I don't know why, but some RTSs, when they were 2D, just translate better in 2D. It's like, if you tried to make Red Alert 2 3D, it would just suck. Like, Red Alert 2 is amazing being 2D. It's what makes it good. And some RTSs were born for 2 dimensions. Because 2-dimensional games have their own strengths and advantages that 3D games just do not have. And the biggest problem is that they're trying to make a 2D game in a 3D environment, and it just doesn't translate to the same degree because they're not taking advantage of the 3 dimensions. Like, they're not using advanced physics and stuff like that that could help strengthen it. It just doesn't have a reason to exist. It just doesn't feel like it adds anything. It feels inferior to its predecessors, and that makes me sad because I wanted this to actually help brighten up the series, but it just ended up, pancaking. It is what it is. Door Kickers is one of those things where it's a tactical shooter, all right? So it's like a tactical strategy where you issue plans in certain orders. I thought it was a novel concept, and I think that people could like this. I personally don't like it, and so I'm not going to recommend it because I thought it was too limited in scope. Really cool conceptually, but ultimately not something I found to be fun. It felt more like a puzzle game, I guess you could say. And so it just didn't have the same replay value or playability, because literally after 3 hours of playing this game, I just felt kind of like that was it for the game. Like there's nothing else to really do. Yeah. And yeah, I agree. Stronghold Legends. Stronghold really needs to try to take the series forward. They don't need to necessarily do fantasy, but they need to take advantage of the 3D environment and 3D escapes and actually use something there, but they're not. Tooth and Tail. Tooth and Tail, I do not recommend. It is a neat concept in which it's an action strategy game where you control other little creatures and they fight each other. But ultimately, I think Tooth and Tail is just not worth playing because I think it doesn't really do a lot with it. It feels like it's stagnate relatively quickly. Action strategy games always have this issue. You play as basically a leader character and you command other groups of squads to do things, and it's really cool conceptually, and the art style is actually not bad, but ultimately I think that the overall gameplay loop just gets very, very meh feeling, I guess. It did not take long to get really tired of this, and very quickly. It had no staying power. Regiments is something that Microprose put out, and some people have been enjoying this. I didn't really enjoy this RTS too much, mostly due to the fact it just felt kind of tacky and cheap. It's set basically in a hypothetical Cold War scenario, goes hot, and units just kind of feel kind of blocky. They don't feel like they have any weight or mass to them. And so that's why I dropped this one relatively quickly. Its lack of mass and weightiness just made it feel not very good. I'd also played the demo or beta before this, and so it just really didn't add anything that made it feel worthwhile. So, kind of forgettable. Don't recommend. Cossacks 3. Cossacks 3 is a game I have a few more hours in. We ended up not spending more time in this because the people I was playing with at the time just sort of drifted out of my sphere. But from the time I did spend in it, it was fun. It's not as strong as the previous Cossacks, but it's not weak either. It more or less stays in line with it, I guess. But I can neither confirm nor recommend it because I feel like I still spent an inappropriate time with this game because I felt like I could have spent a lot more. And so again, lack of depth, or not lack of depth, sorry, lack of time spent in the game. Regiments was lack of depth, so I don't recommend it. And $20 sale, just not worth recommending. Spellforce 3, don't recommend. We've already said everything I had to say on Spellforce as a genre, or as a franchise, I guess.
I saw it a while back, and it was like, that looks pretty cool.
We talked about Battlefleet Gothic Armada.
But, you know.
I don't recommend the previous one. It's only $2.24, so if you like the aesthetic and you like campaigns, maybe that'll be worth it for you, but I don't recommend it personally. Rusted Warfare, I have played. It's basically like a sort of indie RTS. It's a neat concept, but it's very Total Annihilation inspired. It's only $2.89, but if you're looking for something new, I don't recommend it because there's nothing that really branches out from that one. Nothing unique. Rattenreich, I have played the demo and beta for. I do not recommend this game. It's not worth playing. It just lacks any identity or soul. It's just animals in a World War I-ish, 2-ish setting. And it has lack of personality, lack of individuality. There isn't really a reason to get invested.
It's Rat World War II. That's all it's got.
Yep.
Apparently.
Stronghold HD Crusader is just fucking awesome. It's a fun game. It's literally straight up just Stronghold. So $3, it's fucking good. We talked about Stronghold before. I recommend it. Space Rain. It's is it still in early access? Yeah, it's still in early access. This game is a neat concept where you can take direct control of the ships and then command them. It's a neat idea, but it isn't developed enough, and last I have played it, to really say anything further. Right now I do not recommend, mostly due to the fact that in its current state it's just not worth picking up. DEF CON is one of those games I'm going to recommend against, and I recommend against it because, well, it is a novel concept for like a little bit. It just doesn't have the depth of staying power. You nuke things, you stop missiles, and while it is kind of cool as like a concept, and I did play it back in like 2005 or 6 whenever it launched. I don't remember if that was the physical copy because I had the physical copy of this. It just was too shallow to really get into. It's just you nuke population centers, and whoever does the most damage to the other party wins. It's just too simple for what it is. It's only $4, but even then I feel like it's not. You're not going to get your money's worth, personally. So yeah, we're going to move on past that. Warhammer Age of Sigmar, I did play the beta for. I do not recommend it. I think it's boring and has no identity of its own, and it's a massive waste of time. It's just incredibly repetitive, and units don't have any sort of actual mass. They feel clunky. The game feels clunky, and it feels bad. That's my general opinion. Buggos. I just like how it's called Buggos. That's cute. Sudden Strike 4. Sudden Strike 4 was a hard game for me to play because, I don't know, it felt like old game design in a modern game. And so, in the end of the day, I ended up actually stopping playing this game because it didn't feel like it was taking the franchise forward. It felt sort of just like, here's Sudden Strike, but 3D, but without the charm of being 2D. And that's what the previous Sudden Strikes had, was that the old one did, as it was 2D and it had a little bit of visual charm. I don't recommend it, purely on the basis that it just kind of feels repetitive. I don't know, like every mission kind of feels like the same, and it's just like more of like a puzzle than a strategy game because you have a certain amount of resources and units you have to work with. And when games start to feel like puzzles, they lose their immersion factor. This, to me, sort of lost its immersion factor, and so that's why I couldn't really get into Sudden Strike. If you're a fan of the Sudden Strike series, you might want to check this one out. It's got lots of expansions that expand its theaters of war to Finland, to Pacific, literally Africa, Battle of Kursk and Dunkirk. But yeah, it's just something that really didn't pull me in. So I don't recommend it. I'm only going to recommend things I think that really break things out. Wargame Airland Battle, I recommend Red Dragon. The reason why I don't recommend this is because this is just an older version of the previous one. And because they were iterative games, the newer one was just add way more stuff. way more things to offer. So yeah, Stronghold 2 Steam Edition. I, for whatever reason, do not like Stronghold 2. Some people like this game. I never could get into it. I always thought Stronghold 2 sucked, and I maintained that feeling because it just didn't feel good. The only 3D one that was kind of interesting was the Legends one, and so yeah, I don't like Stronghold 2. Don't recommend it. Don't recommend it. Command & Conquer 4 Tiberium Twilight. I do not recommend this. I think this game is a betrayal of what literally was Command & Conquer. Now, if you take it in an isolated sense, it is a very much Asian-themed RTS in terms of like a game design. And it's sort of like you got your base thing, you got to move around, and like that's kind of the focus. And it's all about putting pressure on certain locations and like alleviating pressure on others. That's it. That's all I have to say. Command & Conquer 4, Tiberium Twilight, sucks. I hate this game. I hate this game. It ruined the story. It killed the franchise from my point of view, and it led Command & Conquer off a cliff. I hate it. Now, because this is on this list, we're going to talk about the Command & Conquer bundle. I already own it. This bundle pack, the collection, you should buy. It's good. It's got Command & Conquer 1, the original, Command & Conquer, all its expansions. It's got all the Command & Conquers except the remaster. And all of these are fucking amazing. For the most part. There's hit or misses in some of these, like Command & Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars is very Red Alert 3 is stronger, but then Red Alert 3 Uprising didn't have multiplayer, so it's me. But yeah, this is worth picking up. Very good. Command & Conquer is a solid franchise, and if you like RTSs, it's one of the cornerstone franchises to be involved in. It is the premier.
Le premier.
Tiberium, Kane's Wrath. I mean, obviously you need the other one to get it. I think Kane's Wrath was a bit better than Tiberium Wars, mostly because it expanded on things and it brought back the quirkiness of the storylines. Because
Should I actually list this as a different game?
Honestly, just write Command & Conquer franchise and then put recommended, except 4. Because 4 sucks ass.
All right, I have all but 4 listed. Then there you go.
Okay, no, this isn't the game I was thinking of. I was like, have I played this? I'll put that on my
Which
list to look.
that's not gonna happen. You wanted a community event for fucking.
When chat
4.
fucking empties their wallets, that's when. Command & Conquer Tiberium Wars 3. I recommend it, but it's not on sale. So again, buy the bundle. Buy the bundle. The bundle is a better deal if I'm right. Them individually, I think, is bad. $19.88. What the fuck? Did they inflate the cost of these things? I thought they were cheaper. The bundle is the only way to buy them, and when they're on sale, usually. Buying any of these individually, if I remember right, you lose money by doing that, if I remember correctly. Command & Conquer Tiberium Wars 3, to talk about it a little bit individually, no, it's a solid RTS. It's fun, but it was heavily ruined by the fact it was made for consoles, and because of the consoles, that's why infantry are grouped in squads and not as individuals, and that really just makes infantry feel weird in this game. Infantry kind of suck as a whole in this game. They don't really feel like they have any weight to them, and so they just feel very floaty. The game was fun, though, overall, and the story was okay. I think the screen invasion was handled kind of weirdly. I always felt like this was a wrong turn, and to give criticism to Tiberium Wars, it's specifically because they do not adhere to the lore Bible of CNC that Westwood left for them to inherit. And the lore Bible basically talks about how Tiberium is supposed to be a terraforming thing and how it's meant to terraform the planet. In this, they retcon it that after basically the Cabal incident in Firestorm, that Tiberium is basically turning the planet into a block of Tiberium instead of an organism. And I think that was kind of lame, because Tiberium being an organism that was changing the world was far more interesting than Tiberium just turning the planet into a giant crystal, and that the Skrin were terraforming the planet and its life forms because it had an atmosphere and it was in the Goldilocks zone, so it was usable, rather than we're going to terraform a planet that has a civilization on it into a giant crystal to harvest it, which seems stupid, because space is filled with planets they could do that to, and so that just kind of fundamentally undermines the entire
one with life on it?
Yeah, because now they're going to fight back, and then the Skrin lose, and ultimately, it just is like, what? That's just stupid. Like, it's dumb. It's dumb. The plot's dumb. Like the underlying over arc is stupid. That's my biggest problem with CNC3 Tiberium Wars, is that the retcon they did to the Tiberium lore was stupid. Red Alert 3 is stronger than Tiberium Wars. It brings back infantry and its viability. It's got some of the best fucking lines in the goddamn franchise. I'm gonna go to the one place that can't be corrupted by capitalism, space, and that's just fucking amazing. Red Alert 3 is awesome. It's got a fun campaign. It's goofy. It's a bit more comedic than Red Alert 2, but then again, Red Alert 2 is also comedic. But I think it lays heavily into the ham. And in a way, I think that Red Alert leaning more into the ham was actually a good thing. And the campaign's solid. It's also got co-op. And so if you download go to cncnet.org and get the certain like launcher you need, you can actually hook this thing back up and actually play multiplayer again, as well as doing, actual multiplayer campaigns or co-op. So that's why that's really good. Absolutely worth it. Red Alert 3 is amazing. It's got Tim Curry in it, for fuck's sake. Red Alert 2, Yuri's Revenge. If you don't own this, you've been making mistakes in your life. This is arguably peak Command & Conquer at its peak. Like peak in terms of gameplay. It's just fucking amazing. It's got an amazing campaign for Red Alert 2 and Yuri's Revenge. I love revisiting this game. I always come back to it, and I always will come back to it because it's just fucking solid. It encapsulates my childhood perfectly in terms of the vibes and atmosphere. Generals.
I like how.
Oh, go ahead.
I like how this whole section is just you talking about CNC.
Yeah, because we're going through the CNC games now. General 0 Hour and Generals, fucking awesome. The only complaint I have is that it didn't have cutscenes and that it was kind of a shoehorned game and didn't get proper funding, and it looks like fucking MS Paint is the textures for the video game. This game looked bad when it launched, but it's fucking awesome. What more is to say? The music is so goddamn good for this fucking game. And not only is the other one's good too, by the way. I haven't mentioned the music. Music's fucking amazing for this franchise. Even Tiberium Twilight has good music. And it sucks ass. It sucks ass. Generals 0 Hour has such good music that Top Gear literally kept licensing it, and other TV shows license its music to this day. To this fucking day. Mostly the Generals tracks. The music is this game is fucking... It slaps. Slap Chatfish around. But yeah. Well, of course, 0 Hour is better. It's the expansion. It adds more stuff, you dumb fuck. You know, it's like, English has always revenge. English talks in third person because he's retarded. But yeah, Generals, it's solid. It's one of the first RTSs to actually be made in the Sage engine that wasn't a mixed bag. Emperor Battle for Dune was the first, and it was very much a bit rough around the edges, to say the least.
For the Duke. For the Duke. For the Duke.
Oh my god. No surrender. No surrender. No surrender.
For the Duke.
General 0 Hour proved that the Sage engine could make RTSs. And the Sage engine, what gave us Tib Wars, it gave us Red Alert 3. The Sage engine made a lot of RTS. It also gave us Battle for Middle-earth. Battle for Middle-earth is a series I fully recommend, and that shall be honorably added to this list. But you need to use a beta.
Yeah.
Yep. And the Battle for Middle-earth trilogy. The Battle for Middle-earth trilogy is solid. Through and through. Peak. Yet again, proof that Victory Games, I think is their name, or whatever branch of EA it was, could make RTSs. And they're also honorable mentions because they are Command & Conquer games. But not in name. They're the Battle for Middle-earth was the brand name for that. Tiberian Sun, what more is there to say than this atmosphere fucking slaps hard. Holy fuck, is it brutal? It's dark, it's twisted, it's where Tiberium settings should have stayed. It's why Tiberium Wars is kind of weaker, because it had to follow up to Tiberian Sun. Tiberian Sun may not be as gameplay strong as Red Alert 2 and Yuri's Revenge, and as pop culture power, but fuck me, the atmosphere for Tib Sun is fucking amazing. It's dark, it's brutal, the world is ending, the world is being terraformed, and humanity is going extinct in this forever war, in the second Tiberian War. And man, does it feel good. My only goddamn shame that I have to say for this game got fucking so much cut content it hurt. Oh my god. We didn't even get the fucking mutant faction we were supposed to. The mutant faction was cut from the game. Oh, that was supposed to be the third faction. If only this game got proper funding. But this game is what drove Westwood basically into suicide. This game, Westwood overspent and basically had to call Papa EA to save them. And Papa EA is worth mentioning because EA is what gave us Red Alert 2. Because they literally resurrected. That's why when Red Alert 2 fucking slaps, boy does it hit hard. Because EA's money flooding into Westwood is what saved fucking Westwood from absolute collapse. So yes, for once we have something positive to say about EA. EA saved Command & Conquer and also killed it. So mixed feelings on the matter.
They saved it and ruined. Yay.
But goddamn. And you can't go wrong with the classics. Command & Conquer Tiberium Dawn. It's the classic. It deserves taking a knee for, chat, you know. Because it's one of those you have to respect it. It started the foundation. Red Alert 1 is actually one of the more weaker ones in the originals, in my opinion. But it is dark. Very dark. It borderline doesn't match Red Alert 2 in terms of theme, even though narratively they're connected. It is dark. Red Alert 1 is also connected to the Tiberian universe. It's where the two timelines split. Because Red Alert 2 becomes its own thing altogether. And the Tiberian Sun universe becomes its own thing. But Jesus Christ. Because they set up Kane in Red Alert 1. It's fucking good. It's fucking good. Alright, Kama Cesar, I'm picking up your chatfish and I'm gonna grape you. He's like, no. Eep.
Don't grape us! Not the graping!
Zero has cool cover art, but fucking A, Generals, the original, has way better cover art. Like, look at that. Fucking American. China. Allahu Akbar. Oh my god, and like the little dirt buggies attacking tanks and shit. Goddamn. Generals, fucking awesome campaign. Fucking amazing. Generals, good. Good shit, good shit. No opinion on whatever the fuck that is. I don't think I played that. I own it, but I don't play it. Armed Brigade, I don't have anything to say about. I don't even know why I own that. I don't think I played that either. I don't even play. Stronghold HD is just Stronghold. It's good. Recommended. Write that down, Skittles.
Stronghold HD, okay.
Ancestors Legacy, I wanted to like. This is basically a company of heroes, but in like medieval times. And it's got Teutonic Knights, so I know some of you chatfishies are little Teutonic nerds. So you're very sold on it, but yeah, I've got no comment beyond that. No comment. Because I couldn't really get into it. Oh god, we should remove Stormgate from my fucking... Hold on.
No, you should have it repeat.
There, get that off my wish list. Oh god.
I hope Chatfish bought that for you, not knowing.
Chatfish, holy shit. But yeah, I don't have anything to say in that, other than I watched Rapier play that, and it looks so bad that that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. Command & Conquer 3 Uprising, worth getting. It's an expansion of Red Alert 3. It adds the Commander's Challenge mode, which is really fun. And adds some more campaign missions, and it's goofy. And for whatever reason, didn't get multiplayer. It really pushes the goofy angle. Battlezone 98 Redux. What can I say except I recommend it? I had this on the N64 and man did it play like ass. But the PC version my dad had looks so much better than my N64 version. Holy fuck. At the time, Battlezone 98 is based on an old arcade game that came out for the arcades and has nothing to do with the arcade version whatsoever. Where you just drive a tank around and shoot stuff. Battlezone 98 takes the concept of being a tank and fucking... If you want to talk about building on it, holy fuck does this game build on the concept. Now, basically, you can play as like a little infantry dude that like gets inside tanks and you pilot them. And it's an action strategy game in which you command vehicles and you build bases and you gather resources to basically fight the Reds on the moon and on Mars. Fucking cool. It's got an expansion where China comes into play and there's mercenaries in it. It's about the hidden war of the Cold War, which takes place on the moon. We don't know what's happening. It's actually pretty dark and twisted in terms of its storytelling. And generally pretty solid. It's got some pretty big battles, and yeah, it felt pretty chaotic. Battlezone's one of those, it's very much you either love it or you don't have any opinions on it. Battlezone 98, really cool. My only problem with it is that I always goddamn die in it. It's too fucking early.
Battlezone 9.
But yeah, recommend Battlezone 98 Redux.
Redux.
I don't have any opinion about Anniversary, but I do have opinion on this. Tom Clancy's End War. Is it even playable or functional? If it is, I would recommend it, but it's one of those games that it's so goofy and weird that I would recommend this in a goddamn heartbeat. It's $3 right now. It had voice commands, and fuck did this blow my mind as a kid. This blew my goddamn mind. Yes, the camera controls are ass. Yes, the limiting it to that does things, but it adds something that a lot of games don't. And for that, I recommend End War. But the thing is, I can't recommend it if it's actually not playable. I don't know. It's still playable? Okay. And then I recommend it.
Oh, I had listed it as if playable.
Yep. What's recommended about this game is it's just fucking cool. Unit 1, move to Alpha. And then they'll be like, sorry, like Unit 2, board Unit 3, and stuff like that. Like, I don't remember 100%. The voice command thing is super fucking cool. There's nothing more to say than the voice command gimmick is cool. Like, it's just cool. You talk to your units, you talk to Unit 2 and 3, you give them orders to move to things, and it's one of those games where I look over my shoulder to make sure no one's watching me play because, like, I feel like a fucking nerd and a geek playing this game. It's fun. I love it. It's goddamn cool. I have mixed feelings on it because I wish that the camera controls were free cam. Because it looks fucking cool. Like, how do I explain this? Like, when you get to sieges on capitals, like for, like, the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C., if the defenders hold out long enough, the regular military shows up in massive columns behind the U.S. Capitol. And, like, columns of, like, fucking tanks and infantry. It's just fucking cool. This game was cool, and it's a goddamn shame we didn't get a sequel. Ubisoft, you done fucked up that fucking sequel, boy. Where's my End War 2?
Never.
Yeah, pretty much.
You have an issue from Yenis.
Yeah, you can play this without voice commands as well. But the voice command gimmick is cool. Except when you have a sore throat. Because when I bought this game, I had a sore throat. Jano down 25 bullets bug says, alright, I didn't want to do it, but your love for RTS convinced me. Hashtag Dragon Throne Battle of Red Cliff. Hashtag SF Sandwich. I don't even know what that is. And thank you for your donation, you little nerd.
Why are you looking that up? He's talking about RTS.
8-bit armies. Now I can talk about you. I don't recommend you. I'm not going to open you. The problem with the 8-bit armies is that it's just more or less RTS regurgitated. It just doesn't have anything that makes it stand out as unique. That's all I have to say. Also, what pisses me off about the 8-bit series, the more than anything else, is it's not 8-bit. It's Minecraft. If this game was actually 8-bit, and then, like, it would probably be a better game if it was 2D. I don't like it. Supreme Commander 2. It's not on sale. It killed the franchise. It's kind of fun, but it's limited in the way that just makes it kind of boring to play the further you get into it. So don't recommend. There are better ones. Wargame European Escalation, I don't recommend it purely on the basis that the Wargame Red Dragon is a better version of it. Wargame Red Dragon makes European Escalation and Airland Battle obsolete. Red Dragon just has more stuff in it. It's a better version of those previous games. It's not that these games are bad, it's that these games are, you know, superseded. Also, Wargame European Escalation has porn game music in it for some reason. And I'm not even kidding. It actually does have porn game music in it. I don't know why, but it does. And it's weird. Infested Planet, I didn't actually play, so I can't comment on it. Chatfishies. Stronghold Legends. If there was any modern 3D Stronghold game to buy, it would be this one. And for the love of God, I have never played it, but I know it's better. And I know it's better because I've seen my friends play it, and it just looks better. And I can say that without a doubt. This is where they should have taken 3D stuff. It sort of has fun with the concept of Stronghold and sort of expands on it. But again, none of my friends at the time wanted to play this with me. Scream. But yeah. Stronghold Legends is, if you want to play a more modern 3D Stronghold, it's the only 3D Stronghold I recommend. Stronghold Legends is a recommend. It looks cool and looks fun. Oh, sad. Supreme Commander Forged Alliance. I fully recommend this. The fact that it doesn't have a trailer or anything is fucking a sin. Supreme Commander 1 and Forge Alliance are very much worth picking up, and for whatever goddamn reason, are not on sale. What the fuck? What the fuck, Squeenix? You idiots! Alright, Squeenix is retarded. Forge Alliance is an honorable recommend, but it's not on sale. And why it's recommended is because you need to download Forge Alliance forever. Holy fuck. You can play the entire campaign in co-op, and it's fucking amazing. It's basically a macro RTS, and macro RTS that's good. It's got asymmetrical warfare and combined arms, and naval and air combat and ground combat, and it has what we call the ferry system for transports that allow for air-to-land invasions very well. My only regret is it doesn't have a naval transport that does the same thing that the air system does. Because holy shit, you could set up your factory, right? You set up a factory, and then you set up a queue of units, then you set that factory to repeat build that unit queue. Build 3 medium tanks, build 1 AA vehicle, build 1 artillery vehicle, or something like that, right? And you set up 6 factories to repeat build. Then you set up a rally point to a fucking ferry point, which you set up with your transports. And then, not only do that, but the rally point from the ferry point, you can set the rally point for the factories to go after they land. So they'll land and then go forward. Holy shit. Macro strategy games at its finest. Honestly, this is the peak macro RTS. Nothing eclipses Supreme Commander. Not bar, nothing. It's just because it does macro so well. Oh my god. So good. So good. Squeenix. They're never going to do anything with Supreme Commander. They're going to let it sit there and...
I hate you. True.
Ultimate General Gettysburg, I don't recommend. It's got an anti-player bias. Moving on. Creeper World 2, never played it. I picked it up to support the developer out of passion for the developer. I never played it myself, so I have no comment. Supreme Commander 1 is a definite... It goes with Forge Alliance. Supreme Commander 1 and Forge Alliance are required because if you want to play both campaigns inside Forge Alliance forever, you need both. Never played Red Solstice 2. It looked interesting. Battlezone Combat Commander is fun. It's also on my recommended. It's one of those games that's it's hard to play now, like because it's modern, but I recommend it if you like Battlezone. Battlestar Galactica. That looks like a fucking mobile combat game. Oh my god.
It's a MOBA.
Executive Assault, I don't recommend it anymore, mostly because you need a group of friends to play it, and it's just so cumbersome. 1914-18, don't recommend. Majesty 2 killed the franchise, so yeah, I'm not going to say anything nice about that. Grey Goo, fucking mid. Army Man, RTS, I have it on GOG, and it's not on sale. This fucking hurts my soul. Army Man RTS is one of Pandemic's RTSs. It's goofy, it's clunky, it's a bit derpy, but oh my god, does it have soul and charm like nobody's other. A solid campaign through and through. There's a mod to make skirmishes viable, but honestly, you're only buying this for the campaign. Worth it, recommend it, should pick it up. Bucket bitchies. It's solid. Chat bros.
What was that? Army Man RTS.
Yeah. Grey Goo, getting burned in hell. It's one of the first big disappointments. This is the beginning of the RTS dead zone. Of like new RTSs being shite. Men of War Assault Squad 1, I don't have an opinion on. I think I played it, but I think 2 was just better than 1. Yup. Impossible Creatures. The final mission can go burn in hell. This game is fucking stupid. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Impossible Creatures is worth picking up. It's $2.49. Definitely recommended. It's basically Relic's first RTS, RTS before they did Dawn of War. This is what they did before Dawn of War, and it's fucking dumb and stupid. Oh my fucking god. It's the dumbest fucking thing ever. But it's goddamn it's a goddamn classic. Our creators are under attack. It looks goofy. It's hard to sell somebody on it because it looks so dumb. But when you play it, you know. And yes, that was a choo-choo train that has the ability to fly. It's the concept is as goofy as it sounds.
Impossible Creature.
Medieval
If you're
Total
gonna-
War. What?
I think you should actually do a fucking tier list as a fucking meme.
I think we could do the tier list. I'll tell you what, Chatfish. If Chatfish, I don't
They
know.
made the daily goal already.
They did make the daily goal. God damn. Oh, I'd make a tier list if Chatfish bought me a pizza. But I'd have to leave and go pick up that pizza soon. Because my headlights are out. Or one of my headlights is out. And then I'll get a ticket and arrested and murdered and shot in the back of the head. By our nice local police department. But yeah, Medieval 1, I don't really have an opinion on. Like, we're not gonna put on recommends or not. It's an old Total War, before Total War became what I liked it to be, and it's got a campaign map. It's got some cool ideas and mechanics, and honestly, when you actually look at it mechanically, the series actually stagnated with this and never actually evolved past this. Even Medieval 1 or even 2. Actually, some things it did, like the dynamic campaign map. It's cool, but I don't know if it's for me. I one day want to play it. Stronghold 3 can burn in hell. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Syrian Warfare, I don't recommend. It's just kind of meh. I don't know. Some people love this game, but I just could not.
I just cannot with you, man. Cannot.
8-Bit Invaders is like, again, the problem with the 8-Bit series is it's a reference to a bunch of other TSs, can't comment on. I've heard lots of good things about Battle Realm, but I've never played it because it doesn't run. But they just started patching it because somebody basically picked it up somehow, and they've started fucking actually, it entered early access because they're basically restoring it. So it's something I'm interested in. I picked up because I want to try it. It's what inspired Warcraft 3. Shogun Total War, more or less the same as Medieval. Goddamn. Sorry, I'm just so tired of talking. I just have to take a second to stop. All right, so like Shogun Total War is one of those things where it's like, it's cool. I like the idea of it, but it's also one of those games that I have no experience with and no attachment to. I want to visit the older Total Wars, but that's about it. Age of Empires 2, the retired HD edition. This version is retired because they're not supporting it, and you shouldn't get this version. You should get Age of Empires 2 Definitive. So, honorably, we're going to put Age of Empires 2 Definitive on the recommended list. They also say retired because they're actually trying to push you guys to go to Definitive, but Definitive has a lot more stuff. It has a shit ton more stuff. Total Annihilation. Okay. Oh my god. Recommend it. Does it have the expansion? I don't know. I think the GOG version is superior. Yeah. Total Annihilation, recommended GOG version. We'll just say that because this looks out of date and not like the other one. It basically started the Supreme Commander series. It's fucking fun. It's arcadey. It's got this weightiness to the units and combat that just feels good. That's why Beyond All Reason feels good, because the units just feel weighty and meaty to them. They've got this
Hello,
mass to them.
Simplicity. And yes, Rumble is chat is working today. There's just not a lot of people in it.
Yep, it's working. We see you. Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. What can I say except you motherfuckers need to buy this game. We need Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds to be popular. It's just Age of Empires, but with Star Wars. But that alone made this game fucking amazing to me. There's also a mod for this called Expanded Fronts that basically adds in more factions and more units. That is currently still being developed on ModDB and can be downloaded. Fucking awesome. Galactic Battlegrounds is awesome. I use cheat codes in the missions because some of the missions are bullshit. And I will stand by that because I think a lot of the Age of Empires missions are bullshit. They do bullshit things to me. But yeah, this game's good.
I'll list it as Galactic Battleground.
Yeah, Galactic Battlegrounds is awesome.
Saga.
It's got the
This
Civil
list
War,
is meant
got
for
Clone
people
Wars.
to search them as well.
Mm-hmm. It's good. Jeffers are looking at me like, bleh, and I just grab them and I squeeze them like, eh. They scream as they get squeezed. Stargate Timekeepers. I wish I didn't have this, but somebody gifted it to me, and that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say.
Spig wants to talk about Bar, as you can tell.
Beyond All Reasons is free and you can download it. That's my only comment on that. Moving on. We have to move on because that one isn't on Steam sale. Active Aggression Reboot Edition sucks ass. It's basically a knockoff of Active War, and you're better off getting Active War. Active War is a better game. Active War's expansion is dumb, and Active War 1 is good. It's made by Atari. It's an RTS. It's good. Put Active War on there. Recommended. Not Active Aggression. Active Aggression can go straight to hell. And burn! Burn! No. No. Men of War Assault Squad 2 Cold War. No, it
I missed
sucks ass.
it. No, I have not missed a donation.
You know,
Travis, don't say that unless you know that for sure.
hold on, I'm checking stream elements. I don't see anything missed. Except Broggy followed on Twitch. Welcome aboard. You're mine now. You belong to me. You're my little slave. Thank you. Also, Luluk, you're also my slave. I didn't even see that. Thank you for following. Thank you for belonging to me. Thank you for He's like, what the fuck? Alright, so let's see. Hold on, I think there's a better way to sort this goddamn list. Oh! Back up we go. Top sellers? I don't want top sellers. I want top rated. That's really just... Oh my god. Fucking Jesus Christ. Fine, we'll do this. Mandalords, I do not recommend. It is just not ready. It's too simple for what it is, and... it just needs more to it. Its gameplay loop is just not... it's not ready. It's not ready at all. Hearts of Iron 4, I recommend. Because the events and community things you can do together with friends is just awesome. The price is a pain in the ass, and I only recommend it on sale. So put Hearts of Iron 4 on recommended. Crusader Kings 3, the exact same thing. Recommended because it's on sale. Do not buy these Paradox games when they're not on sale. Holy fuck. Got it, Squealing?
Holy fuck, yeah, I got this too.
Okay. Dota 2?
Dota 2, adding that.
I fucking hate that.
You
No!
love this game, you love it. Favorite game ever.
I know some people love Stellaris. I hate Stellaris. Mostly because like the warfare system is so ass, I just don't want to play it. Age of Mythology Retold, recommended. It's good. Would they have co-op?
Age
What?
of Mythology. Are they still using AI art?
I don't think so. It's got co-op now? That's cool. That's cool as fuck. Interesting. But yeah, I recommend Age of Mythology Retold. It's good.
Resnold.
I recommend Age of Empires 4. Age of Empires 4 is actually a good game. My only complaint about 4 is that the documentary campaign was cool, but I kind of wish it had a story instead. And I wish they would actually give this game more, like, expansions and shit. Or, like, stories. But it kind of feels like this game didn't blow up as big as they wanted. It did do successful. It is successful. And it is fun, but it feels like it was limited because consoles. I think 4 was held back because consoles. Stellaris needs more depth. It needs more depth for me to be interested. I want like 10 times the depth. Like if I play as a feudalistic monarchy, like I want to see like houses form underneath my interstellar empire. They don't. There's no internal politics really, and it's just not really a thing.
A non-factor.
But yeah, Age of Empires 4 isn't bad. It's not the strongest Age of Empires. In fact, it's one of the weaker recommendeds. But it's got a pretty active multiplayer base, and so it's pretty good. Age of Empires 2 Definitive is probably one of the strongest Age of series games. Age of Empires 2 Definitive has so much fucking expansion content, it's not even funny. They're literally adding the antiquity stuff, and that's why I recommend it, and I don't recommend the original, because the antiquity stuff is literally being brought over to Age of Empires 2. Age of Empires 2 is the premier Age of. It is. Like, it just got so much more. It's worth opening. Also, they've been adding co-op missions. They've been adding so much new stuff. Like, I want to actually try this because it looks really good. And the co-op mission stuff is really cool. They've got a fuck ton of campaigns and new campaigns, plus all the original expansion content and new expansions. And they've been adding a lot more expansions too. Like the Mountain Royals, I haven't even checked out. That one did not get received very well. The Battle for Greece one I've heard is pretty good. Fuzzy recommends this one. because they're adding it. It's like a Battle for Greece campaign against the Persians. Apparently it's pretty solid. But yeah, if you're looking for a shit ton of Age of content, Age of Empires 2 has that in plethora. It's just a classic RTS. I know it might be not necessarily everyone's favorite type of RTS because it's considered like the bread and butter, but it is the bread and butter for a goddamn reason. And we need to thank Age of Empires for persisting and existing, because Age of Empires is one of the reasons why the RTS genre is still kicking. It's thanks to the Definitive Edition that there's been revitalized interest in the entire fucking market. Sins of Soul Empire 2, I absolutely recommend. It's fucking amazing.
Did we already cover Sins 2?
No, we talked about Sins of Empire Rebellion. Sins of Empire Rebellion specifically. Sins of Empire 2 is a flat recommendation. The mods are looking great. I've tried some of the Star Wars mods. Fucking awesome. The Stargate mod, really cool. The base game, pretty solid. The way I'd view this, I've got 72 hours clocked in already. I'm not a big fan of the Season Pass thing. I know I've talked to Stardock about that, and we have our disagreements, but I respect the developers, and they respect me. They've been always chill with me, and they've always been very nice to me. But I will be honest, I'm not a fan of their expansion pack plan. I've voiced my opinion to the developers directly on that, and they've noted it, but they are convinced that they think their plan is better. And I was like, fine. Just think that that's a bit goofy. But they are receptive to feedback. And the one thing I will give to the Stardock and Ironclad devs is that not only they're receptive to feedback, but they take criticism well. At least from my experience. They've never cut contact from me, even when I did like things when I didn't recommend certain things. Most developers cut contact with me when I do that, or blacklist me like they normally do. They are incredibly mature and incredibly understanding. And not only that, but they take criticism, and that is worth applauding. But Sins of Empire 2, base game, fully recommend. I'm very iffy on the expansion pass stuff. Some of it doesn't feel like it's necessary, but yeah, who gives a shit, right? The base game has got all the good stuff. And that's what the mods are going to be affecting. The Galactic Empire mod's really cool, especially with the working turbo laser batteries. They actually turn and function. Really awesome. And even the Awakening of the Rebellion mods and stuff have working and functioning turrets now in the Empire at War games. Also pretty cool. Gates of Hell is really cool. I'm just regretting the fact that I didn't experience it properly with in a format that should have been experienced. It is probably the best Men of War game, and I recommend it, mostly because my experience with it was bad due to some other extenuating factors that are not related to the game at all. It's not the game's fault. It's on my end. But yeah, Gates of Hell is really good, and I fully recommend it. I only give Chatfishies the best games. Yeah, Stardock is the guys that made Galciv, little Grumpster. He's like, oh, Grumpster. I grab his little Chatfish.
Frumpy.
Well, the warships should not be on this fucking list. Age of
Basically
Darkness
Dark
Final
Mist.
Stand. I wanted to like this. This is another one of those like zombie horde survival games, but ultimately I just felt kind of mid. Don't recommend it. The problem is those gameplay loops really boil down to usually AoE damage. Warno is a game I have mixed feelings on. It's not bad, but my experience with it is bad. But I feel like that's wrong to judge a game based on arbitrary forced things. That was not necessarily the game's fault. And so I will give Warno instead the Consider tag. It's basically the spiritual successor to the Wargame series. And yeah, I have a lot of strong emotions about these kinds of games because, you know, certain extenuating factors that are not the game's fault. Europa Universalis 4, I recommend fully. I love this game. I wish I could play more of it, but I don't think Chatfish would want me to play this game. It's super cool. Europa Universalis is one of my favorite Paradox games. But it's also
Europa
the hardest
4.
one to get into, if I remember right. Or not the hardest one, it's got a lot of other mechanics. Europa 4 is like the Sims of grand strategy games. It's the most approachable, I think. Everyone likes this one. It's also got an amazing soundtrack, too. Yeah, it does. It really does. It's also only something you should buy on sale because, Jesus Christ, even on sale, its DLC is $227. It's got the most DLC of any Paradox game, so bear that in mind. But an EU4 community event would be amazing. The reason why EU4 is amazing is because it's one of the few global ones where all the nations are viable. Like, you can be Japan, you can be China, you could be fucking some bumfuck African thing. You can be in fucking Aztec land. Just really cool. EU4 is a classic. Three Kingdoms Total War, I fully recommend. I know it's a dead game, and I know it's not getting developed anymore, but it's one of the best modern Total Wars. It's perfectly encapsulates the Three Kingdoms era. You know, it's a lot of fun to play, and it's great in co-op. Really love it, and even single player. A lot of great mods, and the modding community is still super active. The expansions are kind of a must because they add more characters, and characters are like the focus of this game for starting points. But yeah, Three Kingdoms Total War is definitely a recommendation. Jeff, you should play it. Like, okay, we will. We promises. And then they never do. Rome 2 is a massive recommendation for me because I have 1,108 hours in it. To not recommend it after that many hours, even though I've had bad experiences with the game, would be disingenuous at this point because it's a game I actually want to play again at some point and do like an epic campaign in, and do like a world conquest map. Because Rome 2 is one of the Total Wars. This game came out at a very pivotal point in my life when I was like dumped by somebody I was really into, and I had this to pretty much cope with that in Dead Space 3. And I remember that despite this game being fucking dog shit, it was better than nothing. It sucked. It sucked so bad for so long. It wasn't until patch 17, and the fact that I remember that the game actually was fun. That was the Emperor Edition patch. But yeah, Rome 2 is good. It's solid, it's fun, it's worth picking up, it's got great mods. It's always going to have some sore spots where it's like, okay, it's just kind of retarded this way. But that's mostly Creative Assembly being stupid. Like, limiting these cities and how you can build them was dumb. Like, but at the end of the day, it's one of the better Warscape ones, and it's a solid one. There's a reason why it's always super expensive. It's worth picking up on sale because this piece of shit will always be $60. Total Warhammer 2, I do not recommend, but we already talked about that because it's not worth $60. Victoria 3, I do not recommend. I wish this game was good, but it sucks. Company Heroes 3 sucks. I wish it was good, but it sucks. And all the patches and workarounds, all this has is copium. And I've looked at it, and the copium has now flipped back to mixed again. Yeah, that's what I thought. The reality is this game is just a shit show. Steel Division 2, I recommend. It's fun with friends, and it's fun to do the little co-op stuff with friends. The AI cheats like a motherfucker, but to be honest, I don't really give a shit about cheating AI. This game is fun, and it's fun when played casually. Halo Wars, I recommend you. I recommend this with flying colors. It's Ensemble Studios game. It's not a great RTS, I know, but there's something beautiful about this game. I just can't put my finger on it. I want to play it again with Squealy at some point, when Squealy's internet gets better. Might even mod it.
My internet's getting a little bit better, but it's still finicky. Like, it'll just randomly drop every once in a while.
Yeah. But yeah, so Halo Wars Definitive Edition is solid. It's worth recommending. I fully recommend it. It's good. There is no sequel, God forbid. And let's just pretend that it doesn't exist.
She's like, I like this sequel. I chew my bread. Ah.
It's got co-op missions, and the co-op missions are fun. It's got some mods that allow you to play as the Flood and stuff. That are a pain in the ass to install because I've never got them working. Talked about that one. Frostpunk. My problem with Frostpunk is it's too much like a one-note thing. It's really cool aesthetically, but it feels like a one-time playthrough city builder. And so I don't recommend it. Well, actually for $3... See, it's not my kind of game. So would it be right to recommend it? I don't know. I think I'll refrain from it. Planetary Annihilation Titans, King Burn in Hell. Talk about disappointment. I gave that game so much money as a kid with the Kickstarter, and they lied to us, and then they tried not to deliver. I cannot recommend it in good conscience. It's got elements that are fun, but fuck that. We've already recommended Isolation or Darkness Enemy. We've recommended Attila. We did not recommend that. We recommended Company Heroes 2. We recommended this. We did not recommend that. We did not recommend that. We did not recommend that. But I want to investigate that again. Hold on. I intend to investigate you again. I'm gonna give you a second chance because you're on sale. We recommended the Dawn of War Anniversary Edition. Empire's Undergrowth, we recommended. Door Kickers 2, I've never tried it. I don't know if it's better than the first one. Empire is mixed recommendation because it requires mods to be enjoyable. Gothic 2, we recommended against. Rome Remaster, we recommended for. Men of War Assault Squad 2, recommended. Teran Victa, we recommended against. Stronghold, we recommended for. Troy, we recommended against. People World 4, we recommended for. Dawn of War 3, we recommended against. Empire War, we recommended for. Let's see. Anything that we recommended against Call to Arms. Age of Mythology, we recommended for. Napoleon, we recommended for. Recommended against, or took a neutral stance on Definitive Edition, didn't talk. Company Heroes, but
We got Napoleon. I never fucking wrote that down.
Napoleon, recommended for. Company Heroes, recommended for. Wargame Red Dragon, recommended for. Company Command and Conquer, recommended for. American Civil War, or General Civil War, recommended for loosely. I was like mixed on that one. Stronghold Crusader 2, recommend against. Medieval 2, recommended for. Rise of Nations, recommended for. Iron Harvest, recommended against. Dungeon 3, no experience. Britannia, recommended against. Men of War 2, no. Line of War, never played it really. Homeworld Remastered, recommended for. Recommended for. Recommended for. Against. Spellforce 3, 4. For Sins of Rebellion. We're getting caught up to where we were now. Kane's Wrath, recommended. Recommended. Not. I'm just going to scroll down until we get to 1, because otherwise I'm going to waste my voice on pointless shit.
I bet you guess just a little bit of a recess. So we can make the fucking, what's it called? The tier list with all these goddamn games.
We're not even done. I think we're going to have to... I think what we'll do is I'm going to order myself some food and get food taken care of today. And then... Oh, God.
Then?
I don't know if it's wise. I'm not gonna. No, I'm gonna get food locally. I was like, maybe I can go to the town over and get something over there. But I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. We're gonna take a recess and then we'll do the second part of the stream because honestly, I didn't realize how fucking massive this topic would be, but it is.
How long the list we will have?
Yeah, I haven't even gotten to GOG yet. My mistake is I didn't go to the grocery store and get foods.
So today,
No,
I guess
I'm running out.
we're just collecting games to put onto the fucking list, and then tomorrow will be the fucking
The tiering?
the tier list.
Yeah, because then we can tier all of them. There's so many RTSs I played, it's not even funny. Then I have to go through my shelves as well.
Are we gonna do like a tier list maker thing?
Yeah, I think we will. Because there are definitely top games, like Red Alert 2's at the top. I know that for a fact. I put that in A tier.
Do you want to put that thing like add all the icons together tonight, or do you want to do that
Yeah, together we can work
on
it.
stream?
We should do it tonight, I think. That'll be our bonus thing we do with Chatfishies. Isn't it right, Fat Fishes? All right, let's see.
Oh, my knees popping.
We're taking a quick recess. I will schedule part 2 of this stream right now. Because what we'll do is I'll end the stream. But let's just wind down a little bit. All right, chat. Any questions you have right now would be the perfect time to ask me right now. Because now I'm going to wind down, and then in like 9 minutes, I'm going to get some proper, like, take out my pajamas and get some pants on and just drive over to the store and buy us like a sandwich or something from the deli or whatever. And then waddle back here. What do you think, Chatfish?
We waddle away to the very next day. Boom, 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 boom.
I own like a few thousand games, I think, in real life, and both digitally and physically. Definitely in the thousands.
Both digitally and physically, I am a video game.
For multiple platforms, too. Oh my god. I am a video game connoisseur. That's actually true. See, maybe that was fun, Sam Jackson, the Homeworld 3 roguelike, but I hated the campaign so much I had no interest in playing the game. It fucking broke me, personally. How fucking disappointing it was and samey it felt. Red Alert 1 on the PS1? Yeah, my dad and I, we played that on the PS1 until we broke it. I think that had System Link multiplayer, if I remember right. I don't remember that. Or did it have that, like, preemptive thing? It was the last time I played a CNC game. Holy fuck. You missed out on a lot.
You're old. I'm not old. You're old.
Yeah, because we're going to continue the stream tonight because this list is not done. And then when it's time for you to go to bed or whatever, you can pass me the list and I'll keep adding to it.
Yep. Thankfully, I can just post the text document into the description of the room.
Oh my god. Okay, so what we need to do right away is we need to label this part 1. Holy fuck, did I not expect this? See, I know I played and I know about 90% of all RTSs. I've stopped caring as much nowadays.
By the way, this is all of just games you recommended, but it's fucking massive. The list.
What the heck? Hold on a second. Google's being retarded.
What are you doing?
No, I just have to fix something. They, for whatever reason, don't have my... information anymore. I don't live there anymore. Right, hold on. Google's like, we're gonna turn off your AdSense account. I'm like, I'm gonna starve to death. I'm gonna starve to death. Have to resolve this. Gotta type in my address, because I did technically move. Alright, go ahead and tell Chatfish what RTSs you did enjoy when you played some. No,
One from my childhood is Halo Wars, just because I liked paint it had, essentially. And that's pretty much it. I just didn't really play any other RTS as a kid. The ones I did try were on like were Flash games, you know? Shit you can play for free online, but never got to really play them. Just never really exposed to it either.
Why is that?
Oh, I had an Xbox growing up and a mediocre computer. No Steam account. So what I was able to play was either on the DS, on a Wii, on the Xbox, or free.
I think I know what this is. This isn't as urgent as I thought as it was. My ads aren't running, as in I'm not running ads. No, I'm not running ads. Stupid fucking thing. Of course I'm not running ads. I have nothing to advertise. Oh my god, give me a mini heart attack here. Like, what the fuck? I've never had this issue before. Yeah, no. Yeah, because if it wasn't working, you guys couldn't donate. And I see the money symbol there. Derp. Derp. Stupid YouTube. It's just because I used the advertisement thing once. They're like, your ads aren't running. Well, no shit they aren't, because I'm not paying for that. I'm not paying for that. Fucking A. Give me a fucking heart attack. Thinking like, oh my god, that's a new. I've never seen that before. Well, of course it's new, because I don't care. Fucking Jesus Christ, gonna fucking blow my brains out over here. Gonna blow my... Does Microsoft's Allegiance count as an RTS for the Commander player? Allegiance? Never heard of that. Yeah, game was amazing. Well, you're amazing. He's like, oh, gasps. Gibbs, you should play Zone of the Enders. The only Zone of the Enders games I played was on the Game Boy, and I fucking loved that game on the Game Boy. It was like my first, sort of tactics game, I guess, as a kid, like as a little kid. Zone of the Enders, like Mission to Mars or whatever the fuck it was called. And I think it has like little to do with anything. That game was pretty big and like inspiring me as a kid. Don't know why. We like the goofy combat where you just move in a circle. You move in a circle. Yeah, we have a lot of RTSs to go through. See, Metal Fatigue is one of those I can't comment on. I never played it. I heard about it, picked it up, because I collected as many RTSs as I could when I got money. Like, some obscure RTS I know, but like In the Name of the Tsar. Like In the Name of the Tsar is good, and I know about that one through a friend named Grant, who I hope is doing well. Let's see. Because I introduced him into Red Alert. Because we traded. We basically traded RTSs. Now chat, bitches.
Bitch.
Kibbler's List. Oh my god, yes. I hate that nickname, but we'll do this just this once for you, chat. It's a reference to Schindler's List, which is a great movie. I love that movie. That movie makes me sad. All right, let's see. Wait, no, I just renamed this stream. Fuck. Oh, Kibbler's List 1. Yeah. We gotta update the name because the name's a little inaccurate. Yes. Perfect. And then we make another list, create, in the second stream, because we'll raid into that. In part 2, we'll continue our RTS list. If Chatfish like these list streams, we can do more. And then we can do more in-depth conversations about each game. Because I didn't realize that Chatfish would like talking about games like this.
We can delve into different genres besides simply RTS. Maybe FPS.
Technically, we're being pretty broad with RTS because we let city builders slip through this net.
Technically.
They are real-time strategy, but usually I don't quantify city builders as the same genre. I
You're
quantify it as a subgenre.
strategizing in real time.
True.
Unless you pause the game, and in which case you are turn-based strategy.
Okay, let's get the second stream set up. Kibbler's List. You like that name, chat? Don't lie to me. You love it. You love it, you little dirty fish. Like, dirty fish. Because they're unwanted. I haven't played RTSs since Dune 2. What, Dune 2000 you mean, right?
Now I need to
Holy
go
shit,
because it's
that's
5 o'clock.
Fucking Christ. Alright, I'll see you in the next thing. Good luck walking your dogs. Walking the pooches. Okay, alright. Perfect. We set that up. Oops, I did not give it the right thumbnail. Fuck! It's got the Star Wars Battlefront thumbnail that I made yesterday. And by made yesterday, I made a while ago and then reused it. Because you guys would have forgotten that I had made that ages ago, so it looks new. I know, I'm pretty clever. I have so many thumbnails that honestly I have enough for every day of the year. Almost. So I can always refresh in them. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a part 2, because like, holy fuck, dudes. I don't know if we're gonna get through it tonight. We've spent 3 hours talking about RTSs and all of them, and honestly, like, there's so many behind me on my wall over there that we haven't even fucking come close to. This went from a Steamfest recommendation list to a we're gonna fucking talk about all RTSs list. And honestly, it's like worth doing because there are so many. Alright, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna redirect into number 2. Perfection. Alright, chat bros. With that taken care of, I'm gonna go resolve the food situation. We're gonna take a brief recess, and then if you guys have further questions and stuff like that, I'll answer it there. Yes, I have tried End War, by the way. Okay, fine. I'll answer these last questions, you little shits. Because they're just piling in there. But the sun's starting to set, and I'm going to get murdercated. Starburn of the Crown, played it. Seven Kingdoms 2, yeah, I played it. I don't really remember having an opinion on it, though. Tom Clancy's End War, played it. RTS's Dune 2 and TNC1 played. Not the World War II person I think of when I hear Kibbler. Oh, no. No. Sounds good to me. OGD2. I even played Dune 1. Not recommended. Dune 1 is just too dated. That's the problem. Yeah. And, Kibbs, have you ever played Xenosaga? No. I don't think so. That doesn't ring a bell at all. Alright, now that I've answered those immediate questions, I will see you in part 2. I'm going to go accrue myself some food and eat it, and then we will resume after we have a brief reset, about 28-ish minutes, approximately. So I'll see you in the next part of the great RTS list. We will return shortly, Chatfish. See you shortly.